Chapter 1346. Qiao Jin fell into silence again. He understood this feeling the most. When he saw Yan Xiao Yi calling Shi Shanglan intimately, he was so jealous that he was about to go crazy. Seeing Yan Xiao Yi eat the fruit that Shi Shanglan brought to her lips and smile gently at Shi Shanglan, he was so jealous that he was about to go crazy. Looking at Yan Xiao Yi and Shi Shanglan's similar smiles, that warm atmosphere made him want to rush forward and hug Yan Xiao Yi fiercely, but he couldn't. He was the one who had pushed Yan Xiao Yi to Shi Shanglan. He was the one who had personally caused this outcome. He had no right to be jealous, no right to be crazy, just like what Yi Qingluo said. He also did not have the qualifications to decide Yan Xiao Yi's life. Qiao Jin did not feel such intense jealousy from Shi Shanglan. Thinking back to what Kitty Li had just said, seeing Qiao Jin's expression turning increasingly steely green, Yi Qingluo shot him a faint glance. Finally understand, what you've pushed Xiao Yi into is the bottomless abyss, and not the so-called happiness. Why? Qiao Jin's throat was dry, and even breathing seemed so difficult and painful. I'm still investigating. Yi Qingluo replied calmly. Tonight, we should be able to get the information from the Imperial Palace's investigation. But for now, I hope that you can control your own emotions and not alert the enemy. Qiao Jin's fists were tightly clenched as his well-built body trembled incessantly. She really thought that Shi Shanglan would be Yan Xiao Yi's husband. However, he had neglected the most important matter. Now you're alone, calm down. I'd like to see how quiet you can be. Yi Qingluo supported herself with one hand on the stone table as she stood up. The corners of her lips curled up as she sneered. Women could empathize with this kind of pain the most. Her heart ached for Yan Xiao Yi. How much did she blame Qiao Jin? Yi Qingluo turned around and left the pavilion without looking back. At night, Dmo Xian brought the results of his investigation on Shi Shanglan. Qiao Jin also quietly came over. Yi Qingluo couldn't be bothered with him as she directly opened the parchment in her hands. All of Shi Shanglan's information were recorded above. Yi Qingluo's gaze swiftly swept past those messages. The information was very comprehensive. Even the matter of Shi Shanglan being kidnapped with Yan Xiao Yi when he was young was recorded in great detail. Only thing was, after Yi Qingluo spent 1 hour to finish reading all the information, she didn't discover anything unusual about Shi Shanglan's identity or his recent whereabouts. Shi Shanglan was indeed a gentle and refined young master. No matter who it was, he was always polite. He admired the second daughter of the Yan family wholeheartedly and had spent a lot of effort to find out the whereabouts of the second daughter and to find out everything about the second daughter. If there was one thing that Shi Shanglan, the gentle young master, did, that was to sneak into second young mistress newly purchased residence and change the style of second young mistress residence to his own residence. This second miss was undoubtedly Yan Xiao Yi. From the information, not only was there nothing suspicious about Shi Shanglan, but it also clearly indicated Shi Shanglan, truly loved Yan Xiao Yi. Everything that he did for Yan Xiao Yi was from the bottom of his heart. From the bottom of his heart. Yi Qingluo's brows creased, but before she could say a word, the parchment in her hands was snatched away by Qiao Jin. He stared at the words on the parchment as his breathing became hurried. Why couldn't he find any problem? How could he possibly really like Xiao Yi? A contradictory man. One moment he accused Shi Shanglan of using him. Chapter 1347. Yi Qingluo leaned lazily into Dmo Xian's arms as she glanced sideways at Qiao Jin. Shi Shanglan is sincere toward Xiao Yi. Isn't that what you wished for? Why this expression again? I'm not. Qiao Jin's arm stiffened as the paper in his hand fell onto the ground. His gaze was flustered as he didn't dare to look at Yi Qingluo's eyes. After racking his brains, he finally squeezed out an explanation. I feel that this information is too clean, So clean that it makes me suspect him even more. At least you haven't completely turned into a fool. Yi Qing Luo's sleeves moved as she rolled up the paper on the ground. Her energy spread the paper flat on the table. Yi Qing Luo propped her chin as she looked at DMO Xian with a smile which didn't look like a smile. The Imperial Palace isn't safe anymore. This information was investigated by the Imperial Palace's disciples, but from the side presented in the information, Shi Shanglan was a graceful young master with a perfect image. There weren't any blemishes on him, or perhaps, in everyone's eyes, Shi Shanglan was indeed the image presented in the information? Impossible. No one was perfect. Even if it was her, if the Imperial Palace really investigated, they would be able to find many blemishes on her or some unknown matters. Shi Shanglan's information was too clean, just like what Xiao Jin said. Clean made people even more suspicious. It's not the Imperial Palace's problem. DMO Xian's body leaned forward slightly as his scorching hot chest stuck onto Yi Qing Luo's soft body. His chin rested on Yi Qing Luo's shoulder. The image which Shi Shanglan presented to the public is exactly as the information shows. Can a person really be so perfect? Yi Qing Luo's brows rose as she looked sideways at the man beside her. The distance between them was very close. DMO Xian's head was resting on her shoulder. Yi Qing Luo's eyes. Her pink lips were imprinted on the side of DMO Xian's face. DMO Xian's brows arched as his peach blossom eyes were overflowing with color as he smiled. Lil Luor is so anxious. The touch on her lips was warm and silky smooth. A man actually had such a good skin. It even brought along his elegant sandalwood scent. Yi Qing Luo's face flushed red as she moved her lips away and retreated backwards as she rolled her eyes at him. Stop fooling around. DMO Xian, indeed, stopped messing around. But Yi Qing Luo could clearly hear the man's low and hoarse laughter from time to time, laughing till Yi Qing Luo's cheeks were burning hot. Your Majesty, what do you mean? Xiao Jin seemed to be unable to endure the lovey-dovey scene in front of him. He shifted his gaze away rather unnaturally, changing the topic as he asked. He wanted to just leave the room. He didn't want to disturb DMO Xian and Yi Qing Luo's sweet moment. He also didn't want to see such a sweet scene. Such a scene was like a silver needle, ruthlessly stabbing into his heart. His mind was filled with Yen Xiao Yi's exquisite face. But he couldn't leave. This matter concerned Yen Xiao Yi. No matter what, he had to find out the truth. If Shi Shanglan was really using Yen Xiao Yi and deceiving her, he would kill Shi Shanglan before Yen Xiao Yi found out. We still need to investigate. DMO Xian replied calmly. This sovereign can ascertain that the Imperial Palace would not falsify this information. But how could Shi Shanglan be so clean? His voice paused as his long and narrow peach blossom eyes squinted slightly as a biting cold arc flashed past. Behind him, there must be a force that can go against the Imperial Palace. Dark forces. Yi Qing Luo blurted out. Chapter 1348. To tell the truth, Yi Qing Luo didn't think that Shi Shanglan was related to the dark forces. Such a gentle and graceful young master, with such a good image to the outside world. Totally not in line with the dark forces style. Furthermore, Shi Shanglan pursued Yen Xiao Yi relentlessly and secretly investigated Yen Xiao Yi. Furthermore, he changed his own courtyard into the exact same style as Yen Xiao Yi's old residence. Wasn't it because they had been kidnapped when they were young? Hence Shi Shanglan started to like Yen Xiao Yi? But now, knowing that Yen Xiao Yi was a member of the World Group, a student of Devil Class, Shi Shanglan started to have a man's ambition and goal. Yi Qing Luo had always thought so. But now, hearing what DMO Xian said, she couldn't help but felt a chill down her spine. The Dark Force's goal. It had always been her. They needed her profound jade heart to unlock the other seals on the vast water god relic. They needed her body to bear the burden of the profound jade heart. although Yi Qing Luo wasn't clear why the dark forces needed the god relic and her profound jade heart. But the only thing she could confirm was, to awaken the King of Darkness, the key to unlock the King of Darkness, was not only the cultivator's soul. It also required powerful strength, powerful, profound energy. Shi Shanglan was a member of the dark forces. Then, how did he know that a few years ago Yan Shao would be acquainted with him in the future, and specially forged into such a gentle young master image? No matter how exquisite a person's acting is, they will eventually give themselves away. Let's not beat the grass and alert the snake first. Let's secretly investigate the actual situation. DMO Xian brushed a lock of Yi Qing Luo's hair as he said calmly, "The Imperial Palace will investigate, no need to be anxious." Hearing DMO Xian's words, Yi Qing Luo's anxiousness slowly dissipated. She nodded and responded softly, "Amen." As long as DMO Xian helped, no matter how big the matter was, it could be settled. Her man was that incredible. Yi Qing Luo looked at Xiao Jin as she instructed. "Jinzi, no matter what you are thinking now, maintain your original attitude. We are now living under someone else's roof, and our brother's injuries have yet to recover. The minute you act rashly, it will affect all our brothers." She understood Xiao Jin's character. After knowing that Shi Shanglan had an ulterior motive for getting close to Yan Xiaoyi, Xiao Jin wouldn't be able to restrain himself. After knowing that Shi Shanglan was related to the dark forces, Xiao Jin even wanted to kill Shi Shanglan. He could have such thoughts, but definitely not now, since Shi Shanglan approached them with a purpose. Why didn't they directly use Shi Shanglan's wealth and power to heal their brother's injuries? Shi Shanglan was in charge of herbs and manpower. Since Shi Shanglan Prefecture was so shrewd, it meant that they weren't stupid. Knowing that she, the ghost doctor, and the saint thief were there, Shi Shanglan would definitely not dare to tamper with the medicinal ingredients. Xiao Jin's stiff body suddenly tensed up. A pair of deep dark eyes fixed on Yi Qing Luo. After a while, he pursed his thin lips and spat out a word unwillingly, and then he turned around and left the room. Seeing Xiao Jin's reaction, Yi Qing Luo knew that this fellow indeed wanted to take action against Shi Shanglan directly. When it came to Yan Xiaoyi's matters, Xiao Jin's brain didn't know how to work. Since he liked her so much, why did he use such a method to push her away? Yi Qing Luo looked at the tightly shut door and sighed silently. Chapter 1349. DMO Xian's large palm encircled her waist. As his rosy lips slowly moved closer to hers, the kiss landed. But Yi Qing Luo turned her head away, avoiding it. Yi Qing Luo felt the hand on her waist, slightly exerting some force. Yi Qing Luo pretended not to notice. Her slender brows raised frivolously as her slender, long fingers gently caressed DMO Xian's lips. Her charming eyes were filled with smiles as her tone was gentle. "If you don't say it, this mouth of yours, don't even think of getting close to me." The man who was sticking close to her suddenly stiffened. The muscles in front of his chest became stiff. That arm on her waist also stiffened. DMO Xian's reaction successfully pleased Yi Qing Luo. Her dimples bloomed as her fingers wantonly teased his lips, his face, and finally landed on his chest, playing with his lapel. Slender fingers as white as jade. Even through his clothes, DMO Xian could clearly feel the temperature of her fingertips. "Little Luo, feel that the fire on your body is not strong enough?" DMO Xian's voice was hoarse as he encircled her waist tightly, sticking close to his body. Yi Qing Luo obviously felt. Her face turned red, as she was still in her menstrual period. Her mouth refused to let him off. "Then are you willing to say it?" DMO Xian suddenly stretched out his hand as he hugged her horizontally in his arms. Following that, he went directly to the bed at the side. Wait. It couldn't be. He couldn't really be aroused by her and wanted to force himself on her? her body, was thrown onto the soft bed. Yi Qing Luo subconsciously shrank backwards as she was about to turn over and get off the bed. A boiling hot body directly suppressed her desire to escape. Hey, DMO Xian, don't be like this. Yi Qing Luo fluttered her limbs, refusing to give in obediently. Don't think of using this method to divert the topic. If you don't tell me today, I will pester you tomorrow. The day after tomorrow, I will pester you to ask. I will pester you to ask. I will keep pestering you to ask. After DMO, Xian pressed her onto the bed. He turned over and landed beside her. One arm encircled her into his embrace. Yi Qing Luo's struggles and roars also gradually ceased. Lying on his chest, Yi Qing Luo cursed DMO Xian's domineering CO aura. Even her beauty couldn't make DMO Xian open his mouth. Would he still want to kiss her in the future? Did he still want to get married? Little emotions started to grow as Yi Qing Luo raised her head and stared at DMO Xian. Before he could say anything, his lips were covered by a warm sensation. The elegant scent of sandalwood seeped into her nose. His kiss landed on her lips. He kissed her extremely gently and meticulously. Between his lips and teeth, he said in an extremely soft and hoarse voice, "Keep pestering me." Oh. Yi Qing Luo had just opened her mouth, but it gave DMO Xian the chance to take advantage of the situation. The gentle and delicate kiss turned into a lingering kiss. The days on the surface passed peacefully. Before he knew it, half a month had passed. All the youths were able to get out of bed and walk around, doing some simple rehabilitation exercises. There were even 10 over youngsters whose injuries had completely recovered. All these made Yi Qing Luo's uneasy heart to ease up slightly. But there was another point which made Yi Qing Luo apprehensive, was the relationship between these youngsters and Shishanglan was getting better and better. In this half a month's time, Shishanglan had really displayed that kind of warm and polite, graceful and gentle young master image to the fullest. He was able to take good care of all the students in the devil class. Chapter 1350. This brainwashing ability made even Yi Qing Luo gasp in amazement. However, there was no concrete evidence after all. Yi Qing Luo was unable to directly let the youngsters in devil class maintain their relationship with Shishanglan. Otherwise, with Shishanglan's intelligence, he could easily sense that she was suspicious of him. Today, Yi Qing Luo intended to bring up the matter of leaving the Shi family's residence and return to the academy. As soon as he arrived at the main hall of the residence, he could hear the sounds of laughter coming from within. Looking at her brothers and Shishanglan chatting happily in the main hall, Yi Qing Luo sighed softly. "Don't you like him?" Suddenly, an extremely low voice came from behind. It was Yan Xiaoyi. She wore an aqua blue dress, and her hair was simple, which made her look even more intelligent and beautiful. Under Shishanglan's meticulous care, her injuries had already healed. Her delicate little face was no longer sickly pale. Yan Xiaoyi walked to Yi Qing Luo's side and stopped in her tracks, using a voice which only the both of them could hear. "I can tell that your attitude towards him is very distant. What about you? Have you decided to be with him? Or miss him?" Yi Qing Luo pointed out. Yan Xiaoyi's expression congealed slightly, and several breaths later, her beautiful eyes met Yi Qing Luo's eyes calmly. No. These two words were considered as a reply to Yi Qing Luo's two questions. He didn't decide to be with Shishanglan. He didn't think about Qiao Jin either. Qiao Jin had disappeared ever since he had obtained Shishanglan's investigation information. It was as if he had vanished into thin air. No one knew where he had gone. Yi Qing Luo had asked DMO Xian before, but DMO Xian only caressed her fine black hair as he replied calmly, "If he wants to come back, he will naturally appear." Apparently, DMO Xian knew where Qiao Jin had gone to, but he wasn't going to tell her. It was as if he did not intend to tell her Qiao Jin's identity. Yi Qing Luo held Yan Xiaoyi's hand as her lips curled slightly. "Let's go." The two of them walked side by side into the hall. The clamor came to an abrupt end. The youths, who had been lazing around, stood up straight in an instant. They were excited as they looked at Yi Qing Luo respectfully. Yi Qing Luo was stunned as she was puzzled by their sudden respect. Just as he was about to speak, a soft body pressed against his back. It rubbed its furry little head against her bosom. "Big sister!" Kitty Li moved her head to her shoulder and said, "It's that Shishanglan. He said that he wanted you to see everyone in high spirits, so he wanted everyone to show their best attitude to welcome you." Although these words sounded as if he was thinking for her, she wanted to make sure that her brothers had recovered from their injuries, to make her feel more at ease. But why did Yi Qing Luo feel? Had he become an outsider? The words "welcome her" sounded particularly awkward to his ears. Every day, she and the ghost doctor would personally take everyone's pulse. No one knew better than she did, so she was naturally at ease. Moreover, with the relationship between her and her brothers, it did not seem worthwhile for them to stop laughing and joking when they saw her, right? This wasn't a training ground. Yi Qing Luo's heart was inexplicably flustered, but she didn't show it on her face. "Why are you all so restrained? Everyone, please sit down." Yi Qing Luo smiled as she held Kitty Li in one hand and Yan Xiaoyi in the other, walking towards Shishanglan's direction. Shishanglan immediately went forward as he looked at Yan Xiaoyi warmly. "My apologies, I was too engrossed in chatting with everyone and forgot to fetch you." Chapter 1351. Shishanglan was slightly stunned. Soon after, he very quickly revealed a smile and walked to Yan Xiaoyi's side, saying in a warm voice, "I am also worried about you. Your body has only just recovered, and you still have to pay more attention. Don't leave a lingering illness in the future." The surrounding youths all revealed ambiguous and teasing expressions. This kind of expression was something that Yan Xiaoyi and Yi Qing Luo were used to. Shishanglan would not let go of any chance to flirt with girls and show off their affection. The youths were already used to this kind of blinding love. Yan Xiaoyi nodded lightly. "I know what I'm doing." Saying that, his gaze went past Shishanglan and looked at Yi Qing Luo, who was sitting by the side. "Qing Luo, don't you have something to tell everyone?" Yan Xiaoyi's words immediately diverted everyone's attention. The youngsters looked at Yi Qing Luo respectfully, waiting for her words. Such a phenomenon was not unheard of. On the training grounds, Yi Qing Luo's demands were extremely strict, treating all the students as soldiers in training. Therefore, there were many rules. However, this was not a training ground. If it was in the past, these youngsters would have started talking at once, asking Yi Qing Luo what she wanted to talk about. This feeling, it was as if she was the instructor that the students looked up to, the vice captain that they worshipped from the bottom of their hearts. That was all. Yi Qing Luo's brows furrowed slightly as she squinted her eyes and looked at Shishanglan in displeasure. Did he brainwash them again? This man, what exactly did he say to these youths? What was he trying to do? What's the matter? Shishanglan noticed Yi Qing Luo's gaze as he smiled warmly and asked. Yi Qing Luo's lips curled into an elegant smile without any flaws. His gaze swept across the hall with deep meaning as he spoke casually. "Young master, she's relationship with my brothers in the world group isn't bad. They are all very sincere and decisive. I like interacting with people like that." Shishanglan nodded sincerely. The youths scratched their heads in embarrassment. "Young master, she is too kind. Young master, she is the one with a gentle temperament. He is also very gentle to us. Yes, it's all thanks to young master she that we could recover so quickly. It's our good fortune to know young master she." Voices of thanks filled the entire hall in an instant. Yi Qing Luo felt suffocated. When she spoke, these people were like mutes. Although they still respected him, they still idolized him. But there was something missing. Yet, the moment Shishanglan spoke, it was as if the mute acupoints of this group of youths were unlocked. It was not difficult to see the respect and gratitude in the eyes of these youths towards Shishanglan. Yi Qingluo had to admit, she was jealous, and now the desire in his heart was roaring and rushing. What AF * King Husky? I plan to return to the academy. Yi Qingluo raised her voice, suppressing all the youngsters' voices. The voices in the surroundings stopped abruptly once more. Shishanglan's calm expression changed slightly. This? Why is Lady Yi going back to the academy? Could it be that I did not take good care of him? If there's anything inappropriate, it's just that you're too considerate. Yi Qingluo unhappily interrupted Shishanglan's words. No matter what Shishanglan's motive was, Yi Qingluo only had one feeling now. She was jealous, and she was extremely jealous. Before these youngsters met Shishanglan, they had obviously treated her, Long Yunjian and the others, as the bright lights in their hearts. Now, this bright light had become Shishanglan. Chapter 1352. But the minute she said that, Yi Qingluo realized that her emotions were too extreme. The puzzled and astonished gazes from all around fell on her. Yi Qingluo coughed dryly as the smile on her lips bloomed even more brilliantly. It's because you took care of them, so all our brothers' bodies have recovered. I only applied for half a month's leave from the academy. Now that our brothers' injuries have recovered, it's time for us to return to the academy. Shishanglan's stiff expression then turned gentle. That's true. After all, they are students. Now I'm here to bid farewell to you. Yi Qingluo stood up and cupped her fists. Thank you, young master, for taking care of me and Chief these few days. If there's a chance, Yi Qingluo, will definitely repay you. It's nothing. It's not worth mentioning. Shishanglan returned the greeting as he waved his hand. You and I are friends. There's no need to thank me. Yi Qingluo only smiled. Shishanglan continued, Are we going back to the academy now? Isn't it a little too rushed? It's better to stay for another night and have a good rest before returning to the academy. Devil class is this batch's champion class. These few days, everyone has been bedridden recuperating and their training has been neglected. If we don't put in more effort, we will be surpassed by others very soon. Yi Qingluo smiled as she shook her head. While everyone is improving, don't forget that the others are also working hard to improve. The youngsters' expressions instantly congealed. Shishanglan didn't continue to dissuade her. The group of people left Shi family's residence in a grandiose manner. Yi Qingluo felt that something was amiss. Shishanglan let them leave so easily. Wasn't it a little too simple? Moreover, she had been observing Shishanglan's expression and gaze. She realized that other than Yan Xiaoyi's gaze, which was filled with reluctance, Shishanglan had always warmly bid farewell to the others, as there was nothing unusual. Could it be that her feeling was really wrong? This Shishanglan was actually an out-and-out good person? Yi Qingluo had been on tenterhooks until they reached the street, which was 100 meters away from Shi family's residence. For example, no one had appeared to stop them from leaving the residence. She released her senses as she vigilantly sensed the surrounding atmosphere. She didn't discover anything. The instant Shishanglan, who had watched them leave, turned around, a figure appeared. His slender body suddenly stiffened. If one took a closer look, one would notice that his body was trembling slightly. After that, his warm and refined eyes were replaced by a pair of gloomy, ruthless, and evil eyes. His gentle face revealed an evil coldness that was completely different from usual. However, in the next instant, that expression disappeared in a flash. Shishanglan's trembling body staggered, and he actually half knelt on the ground. A servant hurriedly held onto Shishanglan's arm. Eldest young master, what happened to you? Shishanglan waved his hand and forced himself to stand up. He kept his head down as he walked into the mansion. His excessively long black hair covered his eyes. The wind blew, messing up her hair. Vaguely, a pair of eyes that made one's hair stand on end. One was as gentle as jade. One was sinister and cold. Heavenly Academy. When Yi Qing Luo and the rest arrived at the academy, the master who was guarding at the entrance came forward to welcome them. Student Yi, you are finally here. Chapter 1353. The master said with a smile. In this interclass competition, the Devil class won first place. The students of the other classes have all made your class their goal to strive for. Recently, many students have been clamoring to see you. The headmaster excitedly talked about the recent changes in the academy. Although the headmaster was very excited, but Yi Qing Luo still understood very well. Those so-called students did not really treat her as a goal to strive for, but Devil class, who had always been thought to be forgotten by everyone, was like a dark horse, snatching away the glory that should have belonged to them in front of everyone. If this honor had been won by High Profound Class 2 or the Class of Gods, then it would have been fine. Yet it was a class of trash that everyone looked down on had been snatched away. Wouldn't the world be laughing at them, the Heavenly Academy students, for being so useless that they couldn't even win the trash from the waste class? He didn't want to be looked down upon. He was unwilling to admit defeat. Because of this, these students had been working hard recently to cooperate with the headmaster's lessons, rather than saying that the Devil class was the goal they were striving for. Rather, it could be said that they wanted to wash away their shame. However, no matter what those students' motives were, it had nothing to do with her. Along the way, he learned about the recent changes in the academy from the headmaster. For example, according to the upcoming interclass competition, the academy had rearranged the classes based on their performances in the upper mystical pagoda. The previous High Profound Class 2 was demoted to Intermediate Class 2, and Low Profound Class 2 was upgraded to High Profound Class 1. High Profound Class 1 was demoted to Intermediate Class 1 because Intermediate Profound Class 2's Shangguan Liuli had colluded with the dark forces and cheated in public. In order to avoid arousing suspicion, the dean decisively disqualified the Intermediate Profound Class 2 students from the competition and ordered all the students to leave the academy. Hence, the entire class of Intermediate Profound Class 2 students were forced to leave. Because of this, the students of Low Profound Class 1 followed their performance in the competition. More than 300 students were divided into Low Profound Class 1 and Low Profound Class 2. Devil class was directly promoted to High Profound Class 2. When Yi Qing Luo heard the news of Devil class becoming High Profound Class 2, she was momentarily stunned. Such a lame name. It was better for her to refuse the class upgrade this time. It was time for class. Along the way, there were only a few teachers passing by. Yi Qing Luo obediently greeted her. When they passed by the library pavilion, the librarian stood at the entrance, and when he saw Yi Qing Luo, he gave her a thumbs up. Yi Qing Luo smiled at him, although the two of them did not speak. But Yi Qing Luo's heart suddenly felt warm. In this academy, there were at least a few people who truly cared about her and praised her sincerely. She was not a complete failure as a person. Classmate Yi! Suddenly a clear voice came from behind. A tall and slender figure walked out of the library pavilion. His green and white robe made him look even more heroic. Seeing Yi Qing Luo, his smile deepened. I haven't congratulated you for obtaining the championship of the interclass competition. Yi Qing Luo's eyes narrowed slightly as her lips curled into a smile. Thank you, class monitor. This person was precisely Intermediate Profound Class 2's class monitor, Xie Yan. He was also that Xie Yan who had once issued a challenge to her on the second floor of the library collection pavilion, requesting for Devil class to participate in the interclass competition. However, weren't the students from Intermediate Profound Class 2 expelled from the academy by the dean? Even Xiao Yu, that child, had not seen her again. But now Xie Yan had appeared here. Chapter 1354. This thought made Yi Qing Luo's heart tightened. Ever since the intermediate profound class 2 was forced to leave the academy, Yi Qing Luo specially went to look for Lu Xiaoyu. But because the intermediate profound class 2 was forced to leave, they couldn't enter the arena to watch the competition. Because of this, when Yi Qing Luo went to look for Lu Xiaoyu after the competition, she had already left the West Square. She was still thinking of ways to get Lu Xiaoyu to join Devil Class after she returned to the academy. Xie Yan had now appeared in the academy. Lu Xiaoyu would also have a chance to come back. I'm no longer the class monitor. Just call me Xie Yan in future. Xie Yan waved his hand and smiled. I'm now still a student of the intermediate profound class 2. If student E needs anything in future, feel free to look for me in the intermediate profound class 2. Yi Qing Luo's eyes lit up. Indeed, Xie Yan had returned to the academy. She went forward and stared at Xie Yan with her charming eyes. The original intermediate profound class 2 students. What's the chance to return to the academy? Student E still doesn't know? Xie Yan raised his brows in surprise. Suddenly, he recalled that the devil class had not appeared in the academy for half a month. He explained. On the day of the competition, Shangguan Lu Li colluded with the dark forces to cheat, causing the director to fly into a rage and forced all the students to leave the intermediate profound class 2. But after that, the headquarters fought for the opportunity to return to the academy for the other innocent and ignorant students. After all, there were nearly 400 students in the intermediate profound class 2. Among these 400 students, there were many young masters from other continents who came for lessons, and there were also people from various forces. Because of Shangguan Liuli, so many students had suffered because of her. How could the families of these students let it go so easily? Hence, one by one, the forces found trouble with the Shangguan family. But this Shangguan family, ever since they were removed from the 4 great profound families, they disappeared from the eyes of the world. No forces had found the whereabouts of the Shangguan family. Since they couldn't find the Shangguan family, these forces naturally went to the academy and the headquarters. They needed the academy or the headquarters to give an explanation to these innocent students. The general hospital also felt that this move had accidentally hurt too many good students who were positive and motivated. Hence, they held a general meeting to fight for the opportunity for those original intermediate profound class 2 students to return to the academy. That was, students who wanted to return to the academy had to go through the inspection of the head elder. As long as a student came into contact with the mysterious Yin Qi, not only would they be unable to return to the academy, but they would also be locked up by the headquarters and interrogated. As for those who were clean, they could be reassigned to various classes according to their performance in the academy. When Yi Qing Luo heard that, her face revealed a smile. Many thanks to the class. Student Xia for clearing my doubts. I'll return to the devil class with the other students first. Let's chat again when we have time in the future. Devil class? Xie Yan squinted his eyes. After the adjustment of the academy, the devil class has been promoted to high profound class 2. The direction of your class should be changed to high profound class 2. Yi Qing Luo seemed to have thought of something. Does student Xia still remember the promise that we had made? Devil class will participate in the inter-class competition. If we win, we will agree to a request from devil class. Xie Yan did not hesitate at all as he stated out the promise that they had made previously. Yi Qing Luo nodded. Yes, now the devil class has obtained victory then. I should enjoy the freedom of devil class, right? Chapter 1355. That's right. I request to retain the devil class. Yi Qing Luo's lips rose slightly as she gazed into Xie Yan's eyes. Devil class is devil class. There's no need for any changes. We like the atmosphere of devil class, like everything about devil class. Xie Yan was slightly stunned. Following that, he nodded his head with a light smile. I understand. I will apply to the director and the elders' quarters for this matter. Thank you, student Xie. Yi Qing Luo thanked him calmly. The two of them exchanged some conventional greetings, and Yi Qing Luo led the majestic group of people towards the direction of Devil Class. When they reached the entrance of Devil Class's courtyard, Yi Qing Luo and the rest were stunned. Every class was a large courtyard. The courtyard was split into the front courtyard, rear courtyard, as well as the resting quarters and the school hall. In the past, Devil Class's courtyard entrance was filled with chilly wind and branches. No matter how one looked at it, it was eerie. No matter how one looked at it, it was cold. For 10 days to half a month, there wasn't a single person who got close to Devil Class. Basically, they had already treated Devil Class as though it didn't exist. If it wasn't for the fact that Yi Qing Luo had entered the academy and was allocated to Devil Class, probably until now, none of the students had recalled that their academy still had the existence of Devil Class. And at this moment, the entire courtyard's entrance was so clean that there wasn't a single speck of dust. Apparently, it had been meticulously cleaned. Yi Qing Luo turned back and exchanged glances with those students behind her. Could it be that they had entered the wrong class? But the class at the corner of the academy was only Devil Class. Yi Qing Luo took the lead and walked into Devil Class. Devil Class's outer courtyard was also clean and tidy. Verdant trees were planted all around, as well as beautiful, blooming flowers. It didn't look like a class's outer courtyard, but more like a garden. Someone had entered their Devil Class. Then, the training inside had been completed. Had they entered? Devil Class's outer courtyard was originally for those students and teachers to watch. But after the outer courtyard, after the second door, it was a completely different world. Because of this, the second door they had set up an array, and the door had been tainted with Bei Ming Lulu's poison. Those people, could they enter the second door? Yi Qing Luo squinted her eyes as she speedily pushed open the second door. Behind the second door, there were messy handkerchiefs and weapons strewn all over the floor. He finally heaved a sigh of relief. This place was a secret belonging to their Devil Class. It was Long Yunjian who used his ability to build a training ground for the students of Devil Class. She did not wish for anyone outside of the Devil Class to enter the Devil Class, this territory that belonged to them. Those people only swept the outer courtyard and the entrance of Devil Class, but did not enter the second courtyard door. The group of them returned to the Devil Class and instantly felt as though they had returned to their own home. Looking at the familiar training, the familiar place, the familiar smell, the youths all cheered and rushed into the training ground. The news of the return of the Devil Class students had spread throughout the entire academy in just a short while. As a result, after class, those students flocked towards the direction of the Devil Class. Although these students had personally witnessed Yi Qing Luo's power in the interclass competition, witnessing Devil Class obtaining the final victory. But after returning to the academy, they still found it hard to calm down. He was unable to accept that his own class actually lost to the Devil Class. Look, all the students in the Devil Class had applied for half a month's leave to recuperate. It was rumored that because they had participated in the interclass competition with injuries, resulting in serious injuries after the competition. Chapter 1356. Towards Devil Class, they were unable to accept the fact that Devil Class had won, but inexplicably, a sense of reverence towards Devil Class arose. In the Nirvana realm, the stronger one's ability was, no matter if you had committed murder or arson or heinous crimes. As long as you were strong enough, the world would bow down to you. The idea of the strong being respected had long been ingrained in the hearts of the people. Obtaining the champion of the interclass competition, and with her own strength, she defeated the number one beauty, Zi Qian, who had a legendary staff. No one dared to doubt Yi Qing Luo's power. Yi Qing Luo called out to the students as she was tidying up the training grounds and the classroom, which she had not been back for half a month. Suddenly, they heard a commotion outside the courtyard. Initially, they thought the other classes had ended, so they came over to take a stroll. But the commotion outside was obviously getting more and more lively, and the number of people was increasing. Yi Qing Luo and Long Yunjian exchanged glances and roughly understood that those students outside must have heard that their devil class students had returned to the academy. They specially came over to watch, either to watch a joke or to hug their thighs. What are you waiting for? Go, go, go! Follow me out! Old man Guiyu scurried out from a corner, one hand holding Yi Qing Luo's arm and the other hand tugged Long Yunjian's collar as he pulled him out of the courtyard. Teacher Guiyu. Yi Qing Luo staggered a few steps as she followed behind Old Man Guiyu. She noticed that Old Man Guiyu's usual loose teacher's white robe was now neatly worn on his body, and the belt was neatly fastened. His hair, which used to be messy like withered grass, was now neatly tied into the headmaster's hair. She wanted to struggle with her behavior, but stopped. Being pulled by Old Man Guiyu, the students behind him also followed suit. And so, dozens of students walked to the outer court in a mighty manner. The outer courtyard was packed with people. There were at least 300 over students crowding around here. When they saw Yi Qing Luo and the rest coming out, their faces revealed a surprised expression. Old Man Guiyu walked right in front and stood in front of the students as he raised his hand, indicating for everyone to quieten down. He cleared his throat and spoke in a rare, steady voice. Cough, fellow students, you must be here to see the class which won first place in this year's interclass competition, Devil Class. The students feared Old Man Guiyu. As soon as Old Man Guiyu appeared, the noisy scene fell into silence. Those students' gazes continued to shoot towards Yi Qing Luo and the others. All right. If you have anything to say, just say it. The Devil Class students will try their best to answer your questions. Seeing that the situation was under control, Old Man Guiyu stepped aside. When he returned to the academy, he would have to face this group of students sooner or later. As the Dark Horse, their Devil Class had obtained the final victory. To these students who were used to being arrogant, it was indeed a blow. Devil Class had used their actions to prove to all the classes, teachers, and elders in the Heavenly Academy. They, the Devil Class, were not trash. Since he wasn't trash, why didn't the Academy notice anything at all? Could it be? Was it after Yi Qing Luo entered Devil Class? In a short span of 3 to 4 months, she managed to train that bunch of ridiculing trash into top experts? From Yi Qing Luo, they could see numerous miracles. 20% of the students actually believed this guess. Student Yi Qing Luo, how do you feel about becoming the class leader? Student Yi Qing Luo, how did you improve so quickly? When you just entered the academy, you were still a yellow profound cultivator. Chapter 1357. Countless questions were thrown out one after another. The students were fearful, and at the same time unwilling. After all, these students in front of them were once dogs in their eyes. They were trash that could be bullied by anyone. However, at this moment, they were standing perfectly straight. Their youthful faces revealed expressions that were completely different from the laziness they had in the past. Their eyes were like torches, facing the hundreds of questions. They did not show any signs of panic. On the contrary, they were calm and composed, causing people to involuntarily be intimidated by the aura they emitted. Was this still the Devil Class that they knew? Was this still the Devil Class students that they saw on the stage of the interclass competition? Wait. You are not students of Devil Class. Suddenly, someone in the crowd shouted, interrupting the fear and respect they had for the strong. The students looked towards the direction of the voice. The crowd dispersed, revealing a slender figure. Ah, it's High Profound Class 2. Oh no, it's student Yan Zhenfei from Intermediate Profound Class 2. What did she say? They are not students of Devil Class. What does that mean? Student Yan Zhenfei, what do you know? Can you tell us? When countless students saw Yan Zhenfei, their gossipy hearts surged. Yan Zhenfei was originally a student of High Profound Class 2. In this interclass competition, the original High Profound Class 2, was miserably abused by Devil Class. The good name of High Profound Class 2 was completely reduced to a joke in this competition. Especially now, the students of High Profound Class 2 had been demoted to Intermediate Profound Class 2. Not mentioning the name of Intermediate Profound Class 2, because of Shangguan Lili, it caused everyone to think of the dark forces when Intermediate Profound Class 2 was mentioned. Just like the students of High Profound Class 2, the elite students who were extremely talented and had a high status in the academy, but they had been demoted by 2 classes. The current High Profound Class 1 was the previous Low Profound Class 2, which meant, in the hearts of the academy and the headquarters, the original High Profound Class 2 students were not even comparable to the original Low Profound Class 2. The original High Profound Class 2, the current Intermediate Profound Class 2 students, must hate Devil Class to the core. Yan Zhen Fei now stood out and pointed out the students of Devil Class. It would be a great show. Yan Zhen Fei walked past the crowd and directly stood in front of the students as she raised her head and stared fiercely at Yi Qing Luo. Those people behind you are not students from Devil Class. Yi Qing Luo narrowed her eyes as her lips curled into a smile, which didn't look like a smile. Yan Jinfei's heart trembled at her smile, and she instinctively took a step back. But he heard Yi Qing Luo's smiling voice ringing. Student Yan Jinfei, our Devil Class isn't a place where you can make irresponsible remarks. If student Yan Jinfei feels that the taste on the arena stage isn't enough, I don't mind letting you relive it once more. He was obviously smiling. That voice was clearly extremely sweet. However, it gave off an extremely cold intent. It was that kind of a chill that seemed to seep into one's bones. Yan Zhanfei recalled Yi Qing Luo's arrogant look a few days ago at the Shi family's residence. She hated Yi Qing Luo. Yan Zhanfei forcefully suppressed the fear in her heart as her lips trembled slightly. You don't think that we're all idiots? I'll only ask you one question. Are Devil Class's students from the newly risen The World Mercenary Group? Mentioning the World Group, this was the guess of many students. Chapter 1358. Yi Qing Luo's brows rose as she didn't intend to hide it. Yes. The crowd went into an uproar. Indeed, Devil Class's students were the World Mercenary Group. The students present were roughly between 15 to 25 years old. This year's youngsters loved to find out about various forces' news so that they could make plans for their future after they graduated from the academy. The Mercenary Association, they would more or less pay attention to it. The rise of the World Mercenary Group could be said to be the Mercenary Association's historical speed. The missions they took on were those bronze or even silver plate mercenary groups might not be able to complete. But unfortunately, a newly established 60-over-man group, the World Group, was able to complete those missions without any losses. Devil Class's students were the members of the World Group. That meant to say, 3 months ago, Devil Class's students already had enough ability to complete those missions? That meant to say, Devil Class's students were actually not trash. When the World Group was established, Yi Qing Luo had just entered Devil Class for less than a month. 1 month. No matter how heaven-defying Yi Qing Luo was, or how she created miracles, it was impossible to train a bunch of trash into dregs in such a short period of time, to the extent that they were able to take on high-grade mercenary group missions. The gazes that the students used to look at the Devil Class were filled with respect and admiration. Yan Zhanfei looked at the other students' reactions as she silently clenched her teeth. She had not expected her question to make these people revere Devil Class even more. A bunch of slow-witted fools. They deserved to be suppressed by Devil Class in the interclass competition till they had no way to retaliate. These people, they are not Devil Class's students at all. Yan Zhanfei pointed angrily at the rows of youngsters behind Yi Qing Luo. They are the Imperial Palace's disciples. They are the World Group's members, intentionally pretending to be devil class's students to take part in the interclass competition. His tone was firm, and his accusation was righteous. It made the students present instantly quieten down. Not devil class's students? Imperial Palace's disciples? Pretending to be devil class's students? The amount of information was too huge. Their hearts almost couldn't take it. I've investigated devil class's information and also found some information about devil class's students from the faculty council. Yan Zhenfei arrogantly raised her head as her lips curled into a cold smile. The atmosphere remained silent. The students were still immersed in Yan Zhenfei's words. Devil class's students saw that Yi Qing Luo didn't say a word, so they also didn't say a word. Yan Zhenfei only thought that Yi Qing Luo had a guilty conscience and was unable to refute. Hence, he became even more arrogant. The existence of the devil class has already lasted for as long as 5 years. And in these 5 years, the number of students who entered the devil class every year did not exceed 10. Ever since a year ago, the students of the devil class had completely faded out of everyone's sight, and no one remembers the devil class. Which is to say, in our academy, even if they walk out like this, we might not be able to recognize them, whether they are really devil class students or not. After all, we have never paid special attention to unimportant people. It's just that, coincidentally, from the faculty council, I found the portraits of every student who entered the devil class. Portrait? The silent students looked at each other. Yan Zhenfei had seen the portraits before. Hence, she was sure that these people were not students from the devil class. In other words, Chapter 1359. Yes, that's right. These people and the people in the portraits look totally different. Yan Zhenfei placed her hands behind her back as she straightened her back and gave a complacent smile. These people are all fake. They were not students of the devil class at all. As a member of the faculty council, I have the right to seal devil class and hand it over to the director to deal with. When the students heard such righteous words, the worship and reverence in their eyes were replaced by humiliation and deception. These people seemed to have forgotten. In the interclass competition, Yi Qing Luo's outstanding performance. Shangguan Luli cheated and was forced to leave the academy. Yi Qing Luo, you actually cheated everyone's feelings and cheated in the interclass competition. If you are not expelled from the academy and fulfill the blood oath with Shangguan Luli, we will absolutely not let you off. Even if you're an Imperial Palace's disciple, cheating is cheating and you must be punished severely. That's right. We lost the competition because of people like you who like to cheat, spoiling the balance of our competition. One by one, the voices of accusation were filled with extreme anger. That scolding voice seemed as though they wanted to tear Yi Qing Luo into pieces. When Yi Qing Luo heard that, she only wanted to scold. A bunch of brainless scoundrels. Just a second ago, they were still fawning and worshipping her, looking at her, calling her senior Yi Qing Luo, student Yi Qing Luo. The next second, they started to accuse and abuse, each more ferocious than the other. Yi Qing Luo was amused by these brainless scoundrels' behavior. The other youngsters in devil class, faced with such a huge change in attitude, were unable to adapt to it. The speed at which their faces changed was faster than flipping a book. But Yi Qing Luo was already used to it. Human nature was like that. Listen to the wind is the wind. Listen to the rain is the rain. Yi Qing Luo's disdainful gaze was caught by Yan Zhenfei. Her expression sunk as she clenched her teeth and gave a cold harumph. Student Yi Qing Luo, don't think that just because you don't say anything, you won't be punished. Before I came, I've already invited Elder Yin Xiang. Just wait to be expelled from the academy. Saying that, she pointed towards the group of students behind Yi Qing Luo. And all of you, none of you will be able to escape. Yi Qing Luo maintained a smile which didn't look like a smile. Under Yi Qing Luo's hint, devil class's students didn't say a single word. Even the furious old man Goeyu, under Yi Qing Luo's gaze, forcefully suppressed his impulse, until Yunxiang was led by a few female students from Intermediate Profound Class 2 to the entrance of Devil Class's courtyard. Just as Yunxiang walked over, Yanzhen Fei quickly recounted what she had found out. When Yunxiang heard that, the peaceful expression on his face instantly darkened. A pair of malicious eyes fell onto Yiqing Luo. Student Yiqing Luo, is what student Yanzhen Fei said true? What do you think, Elder Yunxiang? Yiqing Luo raised her brows as she asked. I don't have the time to joke with you. You are only allowed to answer yes or no. Yunxiang growled. Yiqing Luo shrugged. Of course not. You're lying. Every single word I said is the truth. Yanzhen Fei gritted her teeth and growled. Yiqing Luo sneered. If I had used the Imperial Palace's disciples to replace Devil Class's students to take part in the competition, then Devil Class's students wouldn't have met with an ambush in the West Continent, and they wouldn't have taken part in the competition with injuries. In the end, under Ghost Dr. Master's treatment, they would only be able to stand up and walk for an entire half a month. Towards the end, Yiqing Luo's voice and imposing manner started to rise. Yanzhen Fei was shocked as she retreated a few steps. Chapter 1360. Student Yanzhen Fei is able to provide the evidence of the portraits to prove that you and the people in the portraits are totally different. Yunxiang's face sunk. Then what evidence can you provide to prove that you are Devil Class's students? Yiqing Luo's brows rose as she gave Yunxiang a "you idiot" expression. Then take out the portraits. Isn't it the best evidence? Don't think that I don't dare to take it. Yanzhen Fei treated it as Yiqing Luo's final struggle. She casually touched her space pocket. Following that, she took out a stack of drawing paper. On the drawing paper, there were many human faces. The students who were standing near her couldn't help but gasp when they saw the extremely handsome faces on the portraits. Handsome is handsome. Beautiful is beautiful. All of them were extremely pleasing to the eye. The students' gazes towards Devil Class's students had changed. Indeed, no one was perfect. Those Devil Class's students, although their innate talents were a little lacking, although their brains were a little silly, although their characters were a little soft, but they were handsome and beautiful. Their faces were good. Judging on one's looks had never been a conventional practice since ancient times, no matter when it was an era where one looked at one's looks. After gasping in admiration at the portraits of handsome men and beautiful women, the students looked at the people standing behind Yiqing Luo. Indeed, they didn't look like them, although these youngsters looked more handsome than the other. But as compared to the people in the portraits, there were still some differences. At this moment, Yanzhen Fei suddenly took a step forward. She rushed to Yiqing Luo's side and swiftly stretched out her hand, grabbing someone's arm and dragging her out. And this is also evidence. The person whom Yanzhen Fei dragged out was Yan Shaoyi. This person is from my Yan family, a waste from the Yan family, a waste who can't even condense profound energy. How could she possibly pass Heavenly Academy's assessment and become a student of Heavenly Academy? Yanzhen Fei's tone was filled with disdain. What do I not know about the Yan family's matters? How could she possibly be a student of Devil Class? In the faculty council, Yanzhen Fei didn't even see Yan Shaoyi's portrait, although she knew clearly that Yan Shaoyi was no longer the past Yan Shaoyi. Yan Shaoyi's current ability was so powerful that even her heart trembled. But at least for now, Yan Shaoyi was not a student of Devil Class. The gazes of the students instantly converged on Yan Shaoyi. Let go. Yan Shaoyi frowned in disgust. She was not used to Yanzhen Fei's touch. She flung Yanzhen Fei's hand away and said calmly, I really don't want to show off my intelligence to you. You're as dumb as a pig. Talking to you is a waste of time. Seriously, he was not afraid of a godlike opponent, but he was afraid of a pig-like teammate. Yanzhen Fei's godly assistance simply made Yi Qing Luo not know whether to laugh or cry. She was just worrying about how she could remove the mask on her face without being questioned by the other students. Now, there was no need for the devil class to hide anymore. The students of the devil class could totally reveal their true faces. Yan Zhenfei had given him this chance. Yi Qing Luo suddenly raised her hand as her slender index finger raised up. Suddenly, he gently crooked his finger. Tell them the truth. Yi Qing Luo's tone was calm, without a hint of nervousness or panic. Yi Qing Luo's attitude made Yan Zhenfei cover her chest warily, as her face revealed an astonished expression. The truth? What truth? Chapter 1361. Elder Yunxiang, since you're here, I'll have to trouble you to be the witness. Yi Qing Luo retreated from her position. Brothers, split up and stand properly. Devil class's youngsters immediately stood in line, like during training. 60 over people stood at the entrance of Devil class's courtyard, split into 3 rows. They stood in a staggered position. The students opposite could clearly see every single Devil class student's face. Yunxiang and Yan Zhenfei exchanged glances. Both of them couldn't figure out what Yi Qing Luo was planning to do. Yan Xiaoyi shot a contemptuous glance at Yan Zhenfei, following that her vision turned towards those youngsters who were standing upright, as her lips curled into a smile. According to the Academy's regulations in the Academy, slandering other students for no reason, or criticizing and questioning other students for no reason, will be severely punished. She paused, and her voice was extremely soft, revealing a sliver of gentleness. This punishment seems to be recording a small demerit in asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. When Yan Xiaoyi's gaze fell onto Yan Zhenfei once again, Yan Zhenfei went into a blank. She looked at Yan Xiaoyi in a daze. This lady. Was she really Yan Xiaoyi? Was she really that Yan Xiaoyi who suffered all sorts of humiliation in Yan family? No. Yan Xiaoyi didn't have the guts to talk to her. Yan Xiaoyi didn't even dare to take a look at her. How could she possibly use this kind of attitude to talk to her? Recalling some days ago at the Shi family's residence, when Yan Xiaoyi was bedridden, she gave her a ridiculing look. Looking at the present, Yan Xiaoyi didn't conceal her ridicule. Yan Zhenfei couldn't take it as she pointed at Yan Xiaoyi and roared, "You're feeling guilty! Don't try to use small demerits to suppress me. I'm telling you, not only do I suspect that Devil class's students are all impersonated by Imperial Palace's disciples, I also suspect that you are not Yan Xiaoyi at all." Small demerit? Yan Xiaoyi seemed as though she didn't hear the latter half of her sentence. Our Devil class has a total of 61 students. Other than Qing Luo, there are 60 other students. For a student to make a small demerit, you will record 60 demerits. Saying that, Yan Xiaoyi clicked her tongue. A student, at most 5 demerits. You're still changing the topic. You're obviously feeling guilty. Yan Zhenfei was so infuriated that her entire body was trembling as she clung onto Yan Xiaoyi tightly. Yi Qing Luo made use of the Imperial Palace's power to obtain victory in the interclass competition. This is cheating. Yi Qing Luo is the one who should be given demerit points and forced to leave the academy. Yi Qing Luo, who had been standing by the side with her arms crossed, raised her brows with a smile which didn't look like a smile. Since that's the case, let's not play too big. After all, Yan Zhenfei is the most pampered eldest Miss Yan in the Yan family, so we should at least give them some face. Hearing Yi Qing Luo's words, Yan Xiaoyi stopped her aggressive actions. Then, let's do it this way. Student Yan Zhenfei insists on slandering our Devil class, then Elder Yunxiang will be the witness. If I can prove that they are indeed students of the Devil class, then student Yan Zhenfei's file will be marked with a major demerit. How about that? Yi Qing Luo's tone was relaxed, as though she was just casually mentioning it. Yan Zhenfei's expression instantly changed as she stared intently at Yi Qing Luo. trying to tell what she was thinking from her expression. A big mistake. A student only had 3 chances of a major demerit. Furthermore, on asterisk, 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 if there were any demerit points recorded. Chapter 1362. Don't dare to bet. Yan Shao ridiculed. Since you don't dare to, then don't stand here and solemnly accuse Devil Class. Saying that, Yan Shao turned around and walked towards Devil Class's courtyard. How could Yan Zhenfei let go of this chance to turn Devil Class into a joke? From what she saw, Yi Qingluo and Yan Shao were echoing each other to cover up their guilty conscience. Hence, Yan Zhenfei looked at the both of them without any misgivings. All right, a big mistake is a big mistake. Anyway, both of you are definitely fake. Yi Qingluo shook her head, helplessly and sympathetically, towards this kind of clown. Yi Qingluo had no interest at all. Moreover, Yan Shao was obviously extremely interested in this sister of hers who had the same father and mother. This kind of toy was naturally left for Yan Shao to play with. Yi Qingluo's gaze looked towards those students as she nodded her head slightly. Lan Yunzhan's cold and deep command was heard. Do it! Yes. 60 youngsters replied extremely loudly. Yun Xiang's expression changed drastically. What are you trying to do? As he said that, he opened up his arms, protecting those few hundred students behind him. Those few hundred students' expressions also turned fearful. Hearing the word "do it," they all thought that Yi Qingluo and the others were going to use brute force to hide the truth. But in the next instant, they understood exactly what Lan Yunzhan meant when he said attack. Even Yun Xiang's voice was cut off because of this. They saw those 3 rows of students moving in sync, as though they had gone through countless of rehearsals before they could reach such a tacit understanding. Everyone's actions seemed as though they were looking into a mirror. Rhythm, frequency, it was exactly the same. The youngsters uniformly touched their own faces. Bit by bit, they removed the mask on their faces. One by one, the youngsters revealed their real looks in front of the few hundred students. When the youngsters removed their masks, standing respectfully and looking at Yi Qingluo, those few hundred students who were crowding around were totally not calm anymore. Handsome men. A bunch of handsome men. Beauties. A bunch of beauties. It could be said that Devil Class was the representative of Heavenly Academy's attractiveness. It wasn't an exaggeration at all. These young faces were revealed in front of everyone's eyes. There were already students shouting out, "He's the one in the portrait. It was this face. Look at his blue eyes. Yes, yes, yes. Those eyes can't be imitated at all. And the one beside him, he's also the person in the portrait." No wonder student Yi Qingluo insisted on staying in the Devil Class. Even the temptation of the class of gods was unmoved. If it were me, with so many beauties around me, I wouldn't be willing to leave just by looking at them. Ha ha ha! The students stared in amazement at the Devil Class students who had revealed their lineup, and instantly felt that they were about to be conquered by these handsome guys and beauties of the Devil Class. When the youths from Devil Class took off the human mask, Yan Zhenfei's petite body staggered a few steps back. She stared at the students of the Devil Class in disbelief, unable to believe what she was seeing. But the truth was right in front of them. In front of her eyes, these students had personally taken off their masks and revealed their true faces. No, impossible. How could you be students of the Devil Class? No. I don't believe it. Yan Zhenfei's footsteps were unstable as she fell onto the ground in a disheveled state. She raised her head and stared at those faces, which were exactly the same as in the portrait. Chapter 1363. The portraits of Devil Class's students were taken out by Yan Zhenfei, and it had completely verified that these people were Devil Class's students. Yan Zhenfei's trouble finding. Not only did it not bring about any influence to Devil Class, Instead, it helped them clear all the students' suspicions towards Devil Class. And it also allowed the Devil Class to once again stand in front of everyone in an open and honorable manner. Yan Zhenfei felt that she was like a clown at this moment. Everyone was laughing at her, mocking her. Looking at Yi Qingluo and the other smiles, looking at Yan Xiaoyi's disdainful glances, the hatred and grievances in Yan Zhenfei's heart burned even more vigorously. It's my idea to let the students disguise themselves. Yi Qingluo explained calmly. The world group is already eye-catching enough. If they were to show their faces in the interclass competition, it would easily attract the backlash from various powerhouses. She sighed softly. At least we can't let the outside world know that the world group's members are Devil Class's students. So, students, can you help us keep this a secret? As Yi Qingluo said that, her lips curled into a radiant smile, like a gorgeous rose blooming. It made the students lose their souls when they saw that smile. Good, good. Student Yi Qingluo, don't worry. We will absolutely not say anything. Student Yan Zhenfei is really too much, forcing Devil Class to reveal their own identities. Student Yan Zhenfei has now become a student of Intermediate Profound Class 2. She was once high and mighty, but now she has fallen 1,000 feet. Her heart is filled with grievances, trying to frame our goddess Qing Luo Pui. Actually, the students wanted to say, the news that Devil Class's students were the world group's members. The people in the outside world had probably guessed it long ago, but now a bunch of students started to flatter them, flattering them to their heart's content, flattering them to their heart's content. They had totally forgotten that under Yan Zhenfei's instigation, they even helped Yan Zhenfei to force Yi Qingluo and the others to take out the evidence. Human! What a ridiculous creature! Yi Qingluo's peripheral vision didn't even take a look at Yan Zhenfei, only smiling as she looked at Yunxiang. Elder Yunxiang's confirmation of Devil Class, are you satisfied? In the depths of Yunxiang's gentle and benevolent eyes, there was a trace of malice. Right from the start, I believed that student Yi Qingluo isn't the kind of person who resorts to trickery. Yi Qingluo's lips twitched indifferently. The irascible old man Gui, you could no longer control his emotions. Enough! You bunch of bastards! How dare you question my student in front of me? Are you doubting me? He had wanted to maintain his demeanor as a teacher on such an important occasion. However, this group of little brats was completely ignorant. You, stand up! Old man Gui, you suddenly pointed at Yan Zhenfei. I am Devil Class's teacher Rin. You King said that my little lass Luo made use of the Imperial Palace's disciple to replace the Devil Class's students. Are you trying to say that I and little lass Luo worked together and colluded with each other to let Devil Class win the interclass competition? No. No, I didn't. Yan Zhenfei was so scared that her tears started flowing. Old man Gui Yu's reputation was known by everyone in the entire academy. He was simply a crazy old man, a lunatic that even the director couldn't control. Whereas the other students' attention was placed on the way old man Gui Yu addressed Yi Qingluo. Little lass Luo, such an intimate way of addressing. Could it be that Yi Qingluo had already become old man Gui Yu's disciple? Chapter 1364. Rude and unreasonable. But it was filled with the intention to protect the Devil Class and Yi Qingluo. Yi Qingluo's heart suddenly felt warm. The other Devil Class students looked at old man Gui Yu's back view and felt warmth in their hearts. Although this teacher of theirs was a little fierce and strict in terms of training, he was still a good teacher. But he was indeed a good teacher. For them to have the ability today, old man Gui Yu had a huge influence. Woo woo. Woo woo. Yan Zhenfei was so scared that she couldn't say a word. Her tears kept falling, and she cried until she couldn't catch her breath. If it was any other teacher, They might have been frightened by Yan Zhenfei's tears. But old man Guiyu was not any other teacher. Even if the young lady died in front of him, he wouldn't be moved at all. This kind of crying, to old man Guiyu, made him feel even more annoyed. "Shut up. If you continue to cry, I will make you cry until you can't cry any more." Old man Guiyu impatiently berated and threatened. His words successfully stopped Yan Zhenfei's wailing. She kept on sobbing as her little shoulders shrugged. She absolutely believed that based on old man Guiyu's character, he would really make her suffer. Student Yan Zhenfei has no respect for her elders and provoked the teacher. Old man Guiyu squinted his eyes and looked at Yiqing Luo. "Last Luo, is this considered as a violation of the Academy's rules?" Yes. The Heavenly Academy emphasized on respecting the teachers and elders. The students had to be respectful to the teachers, instructors, elders, and the like. Whoever dared to say anything harsh to the teachers would be considered as a violation of the Academy's rules. Based on the degree of disrespect that Yan Zhenfei has shown to me, what kind of punishment should she receive? Old man Guiyu shook off Yan Zhenfei's collar and looked at Yun Xiang. Yun Xiang's face turned pale when he was stared at by old man Guiyu. Towards this crazy old man, even the director had to give way, not to mention Yun Xiang, although the status of the elders was higher than the teachers. But if the other party was old man Guiyu, even the great elder Yun Xiang had to be respectful. Yun Xiang coughed dryly and ignored Yan Zhenfei's pleading eyes, according to the Academy's rules. Yan Zhenfei should be given a serious demerit as a warning. Yan Zhenfei fell to the ground again. She widened her eyes and looked at Yun Xiang in disbelief. She shook her head furiously. No, I didn't. He was the one who gave me the portrait. He was the one who asked me to do this. It wasn't me, she burst into tears. Choking with sobs, she shook her head incoherently. Don't punish me. Don't. It's him. One big mistake. Two major mistakes. If it was really as what Yiqing Luo and Yun Xiang had said, then she would have recorded down 2 serious mistakes today. A person only had 3 chances to pass the test. If it happened one more time, she would be forced to leave the academy. Moreover, these 2 mistakes would be clearly recorded in her file. No matter where she went in the future, these 2 humiliations would accompany her for the rest of her life. Him? Who is it? Yiqing Luo understood the deeper meaning in his words, as she narrowed her eyes and asked. She could roughly guess that Yan Zhenfei had been used as a hostage. After all, Yan Zhenfei was just an ordinary member of the faculty council. How could she possibly find the devil class student's portrait? It's... Yan Zhenfei opened her mouth and was about to throw the blame away, but her face suddenly turned pale. The crying stopped abruptly. Her eyes widened as fear filled her eyes. Chapter 1365. Yan Zhenfei's minute changes were seen clearly by Yiqing Luo. Yan Zhenfei wanted to say out that person, but she seemed to have seen something. That eyes were filled with fear, so much so that she would rather bear everything herself. That person. Who was it? Yiqing Luo narrowed her eyes as she turned her head and looked towards the direction where Yan Zhenfei's gaze met earlier. The dense crowd of students didn't see any eye-catching person. Suddenly, a clear and warm voice was heard from outside the crowd. What's the matter? President, you. Why are you here? Ah. The surrounding students greeted in unison. Yiqing Luo heard the voice and immediately retracted her gaze as she looked straight ahead. The students opened up a path as a tall figure walked over slowly. His gentle and refined temperament was like a green lotus, quiet and elegant. His gentleness was different from Shi Shanglan. It was as if Shi Shanglan was always graceful and had a smile on his face no matter what happened. In modern terms, it was like a central air conditioner, radiating warmth everywhere. Whereas Si Yanmu's gentleness was that kind of quiet gentleness. He looked polite but in actual fact he was distant. Perhaps it was because he was the faculty council's president. Even if he was smiling, no one dared to get close to him. Yi-Ching Luo squinted her eyes as she raised her brows in interest. My devil class is indeed famous. Even the president is alarmed. This tone, no matter how one listened, it didn't sound like a compliment. Instead, it revealed a faint hint of sarcasm and probing. The person behind Yan Jinfei was Si Yanmu, but it seemed like it wasn't. Yan Jinfei must have seen a certain place behind her, which was why she revealed a terrified expression. And, Si Yanmu came from right in front of her. But no matter which direction Si Yanmu came from, she didn't have any good impression towards Si Yanmu. I heard that someone stole the devil class's admission portrait in my president's office, so I specially came over to understand the situation. Si Yanmu explained calmly. Yi-Ching Luo raised her brows, not fully believing him. This kind of matter. Usually Si Yanmu didn't need to appear personally. Si Yanmu had always used Lu Shuiyu as a shield. Speaking of Lu Shuiyu, Yi-Ching Luo's vision surveyed the surroundings. He did not see Lu Shuiyu, who would follow Si Yanmu like a shadow whenever he was around. Speaking of which, ever since that day, Lu Shuiyu had used a substitute. She didn't seem to see Lu Shuiyu. 7th grade Earth Profound Realm. He was even beaten so badly that he lost the match. He didn't know how many doubts Lu Shuiyu would face when she returned. How was she going to explain the matter of the Earth Profound 7th grade Profound rank? Si Yanmu seemed to know who Yi-Ching Luo was looking for. He smiled gently. Lu Shuiyu has already retired from the faculty council. She is no longer the vice president of the faculty council, so naturally she does not need to follow me. Left the faculty council? Lu Shuiyu, you actually left the faculty council? It was forced or voluntary. With her obsession with Si Yanmu, was she really willing to leave the faculty council? Lu Shuiyu voluntarily left the faculty council. Because of the competition, she has been blaming herself. Si Yanmu explained patiently. This patience, in Yi-Ching Luo's opinion. He must have a motive. He mentioned Lu Shuiyu. What was it for? Yi-Ching Luo was still pondering when Si Yanmu continued. While everyone is here, I would like to introduce to everyone the new vice president of the faculty council. What? New vice president? Who is it? How could she become the vice president so quickly? Chapter 1366. The students cast their curious eyes on Si Yanmu. Some even guessed that the vice president would be Lu Shuilan. After all, Lu Shuilan had always been by Lu Shuiyu's side and helped her to do things. She knew the affairs of the faculty council the best. And when Lu Shuiyu was suspended from the position of vice president, Lu Shuilan also took over for a period of time. If Lu Shuilan took over, it would indeed be easy to handle. Yi-Ching Luo narrowed her eyes and looked at Si Yanmu vigilantly. Was it necessary to announce the vice president in front of her? Si Yanmu's actions today really made people suspicious. Just as everyone was discussing and making guesses, a figure suddenly appeared. Suddenly, an exclamation broke out from the crowd. It's Goddess Qian Qian. It's really her. How could she appear in the academy? Hey, don't call her goddess. She used such means in the interclass competition and even tried to take Yi-Ching Luo's life. Such a vicious woman. Calling her a goddess is simply an insult to her reputation. Immediately, different voices interrupted those praises. Two groups of people actually disregarded their image and started to quarrel in public. At this time, another student shouted, "Student Zi Qian Qian is here. Stop quarreling." Didn't the president just say to announce the vice president? Could it be Student Zi Qian Qian? As soon as these words came out, the two groups of people who were quarreling abruptly stopped. Those who were clamoring with disdain for Zi Qian Qian also immediately stopped. What a joke! If Zi Qianqian was really the vice president, their insults would make things difficult for them in minutes. Just as they were talking, Zi Qianqian had already walked over with an air of immortality. She had specially dressed up today. Her exquisite makeup complemented her beautiful face, making it look even more beautiful and moving. Zi Qianqian stood beside Si Yanmu, the corner of her mouth hooked into a cold arc. President! Where is she? Si Yanmu looked behind Zi Qianqian and asked. Zi Qianqian replied indifferently, she is here. As she said, her beautiful eyes looked at the crowd and finally fixed on a certain place. Her slender, jade-like hands lifted slightly and spread out in that direction. A formless gust of wind blew the students away, creating a path for them to pass. This was not a hurricane made of profound energy. It was his aura. Just his aura alone was enough to control the surrounding natural substances. The students sucked in a breath of cold air and stared at Zi Qianqian with reverence in their eyes. Vice President, come here. Si Yanmu looked at the direction of the empty path and said in a warm voice. In the middle of the road, there was a petite figure with a timid expression. That delicate little face was filled with awkwardness. Her round, bright, beautiful eyes darted back and forth as she looked at the surrounding people who were pointing at her and looking at her with doubtful eyes. When Yiqing Luo's vision fell onto that young lady, she felt as though she had been electrocuted as her entire body stiffened, immediately standing stiffly on the spot. Her eyes widened and were filled with surprise. That person, the person that Si Yanmu addressed as vice president, it was actually Lu Xiaoyu. That face, that expression, that posture. Yiqing Luo would absolutely not make a mistake. Lu Xiaoyu actually became the vice president of the faculty council? When did this happen? How could it be Lu Xiaoyu? Lu Xiaoyu was just a new student. It could even be said that she was a completely unremarkable freshman. Other than eating, Lu Xiaoyu had no other hobbies, nor did she have any particular goal to strive for. Let her be the vice president. The faculty council would collapse sooner or later. Chapter 1367. Lu Xiaoyu unnaturally brushed the hair on her forehead and walked to see Mu Yan's side with her body tensed up. Immediately, she spoke in a low voice. President. Si Mu Yan nodded his head gently. President, didn't you say to let me think about it for a few days? Why now? Lu Xiaoyu lowered her voice and asked timidly. Zi Qianqian glanced at her contemptuously. It's your blessing that the president likes you. Don't go too far and look at your own status. Zi Qianqian was known as the #1 beauty in the Heavenly Academy with extremely high innate talent. Therefore, she had always been elegant and noble, only to be admired from afar and not to be profaned. In the interclass competition, her gentleness and awareness were used to deceive the other forces. However, beauties always had the capital to be capricious. Zi Qianqian was beautiful and capable. Her unattainable status made people feel more mysterious and fell in love with her. I. Lu Xiaoyu's eyes turned red, bit her lower lip and whispered, It's not me who wants to be the vice president. Why are you getting angry at me? If you want to be the vice president, vent your anger at the president. Lu Xiaoyu was not one to be criticized. Her unceremonious counterattack made Zi Qianqian's face turn extremely ugly. Logically speaking, Lu Xiaoyu had left the faculty council and the vice president position should be taken over by Zi Qianqian. Si Yanmu inexplicably brought Lu Xiaoyu into the faculty council and even handed over the position of vice president to Lu Xiaoyu. This Lu Xiaoyu was just a freshman. Furthermore, he was a freshman with ordinary talent and wasn't considered smart. The reason why she remembered the name Lu Xiaoyu was because this Lu Xiaoyu was Yiqing Luo's friend. How could Zi Qianqian feel balanced? You haven't become the vice president yet, and you're already putting on airs. Zi Qianqian approached Lu Xiaoyu, lowered her voice, and raised her eyebrows with a faint smile. Don't think that you can really do whatever you want just because you have the president's support. In this regard, Lu Xiaoyu only wanted to say one sentence. Miss, are you sick in the head? Lu Xiaoyu estimated that she must be sick and seriously sick. Seeing the disdain in Lu Xiaoyu's eyes, Zi Qianshan's face darkened. Lu Xiaoyu, his fingers were clenched into a fist. She heard Si Yanmu's low voice. Qianshan, enough! Hearing the anger in Si Yanmu's tone, Zi Qianshan's heart was filled with grievances, but he still kept his mouth shut. He snorted coldly at Lu Xiaoyu, then turned his head to look in the direction of the students who were watching from the sidelines. Qing Luo, Qing Luo. Lu Xiaoyu couldn't be bothered to talk to Zi Qianshan as she turned her gaze towards Yi Qing Luo and waved at her desperately. Seeing Yi Qing Luo again, Lu Xiaoyu was obviously extremely happy. She glanced at Si Yanmu from the corner of her eyes and hesitated for a moment. He still rushed to Yi Qing Luo's side. Qing Luo, I missed you so much. Lu Xiaoyu threw herself into Yi Qing Luo's arms, her petite body pressed against Yi Qing Luo's. Come to think of it, the two of them had not seen each other for more than half a month. What had happened in this half a month? Lu Xiaoyu and Si Yanmu. Yi Qing Luo gently patted Lu Xiaoyu's back. Her gaze vigilantly looked at Si Yanmu, who was standing not too far away with a smile on his face. She secretly speculated in her heart. Was Si Yanmu looking for Lu Xiaoyu because of her? Chapter 1368. Yi Qing Luo's hand on her shoulder paused slightly. What happened? Lu Xiaoyu was not a fool. It was impossible for Si Yanmu to look for her and let her be the vice president. She happily thought that it was because of her outstanding ability and her inner beauty that Si Yanmu found out about, so he looked for her. Si Yanmu looked for her, an unremarkable freshman. He must be up to no good. At this moment, Lu Xiaoyu's mood was also extremely complicated. The president suddenly found me and asked me if I was willing to be the vice president of the faculty council. Lu Xiaoyu shook her head. He didn't say why he wanted me to be the vice president. He just repeatedly asked me if I was willing. In other words, Si Yanmu had never contacted Lu Xiaoyu before, but all of a sudden he came to find Lu Xiaoyu? What was Si Yanmu's purpose? Just because Lu Xiaoyu became the vice president, he could use Lu Xiaoyu to control her? Yi Qing Luo had more or less heard the argument between Zi Qianshan and Lu Xiaoyu earlier. Lu Xiaoyu did not promise Si Yanmu to be the vice president of the faculty council. He just replied that he would consider it. But before Lu Xiaoyu could think of an answer, Si Yanmu forcefully announced Lu Xiaoyu's existence to the students. This was obviously forcing Lu Xiaoyu to become the vice president. Such behavior made Yi Qing Luo even more suspicious of Si Yanmu's motive. Little Yu wants to become the vice guild leader. Yi Qing Luo did not directly voice out her suspicions toward Si Yanmu, but asked Lu Xiaoyu about her own thoughts. After all, Si Yanmu had been in the academy for a few years and had also served as the president of the faculty council for a few years. His influence in the academy was not inferior to anyone in the elder council. His reputation was high, his ability was outstanding, and he was loved by everyone in the academy. Such a man, if Yi Qing Luo really showed her contempt and suspicion towards Si Yanmu in front of so many people, this group of students would definitely spit on her and drown her in it. She could be willful and disrespect the faculty council with her strength. However, he must not touch the bottom line of the students. Just like in the eyes of the students of the devil class, she was the spiritual pillar of the devil class, the light of hope for the devil class. Once someone questioned her existence, questioned her ability. This had touched the bottom line of the devil class. I'll show you what I can do. Lu Xiaoyu pursed her lips and thought in distress. To be honest, I want to give it a try. After a pause, her frown deepened. But you know me. I'm not smart, and I'm not a rich young lady. I don't understand this kind of thing at all. Yi Qing Luo looked at her quietly. Her gaze was gentle and her smile was light. He encouraged Lu Xiaoyu to say what he wanted to say. But this is a rare opportunity to learn. Lu Xiaoyu's gaze gradually became firm, and the expression on her face gradually changed from the slightly timid expression to one of radiance. Perhaps I will cause a lot of trouble, but I want to grow to the point where I can help Qing Luo. Yi Qing Luo's heart suddenly softened. This last, in the end, he was still thinking about her. Yi Qing Luo was very clear. She gradually released the light from her body. The gap between the two of them, who were originally walking side by side, grew wider and wider. Although Lu Xiaoyu did not say it out loud, she was actually very upset in her heart. This was not because of jealousy. On the contrary, Yi Qing Luo was able to grow so quickly and release her own light. Lu Xiaoyu was very happy and elated. Only, seeing her good sister becoming stronger, she could not catch up to her good sister's footsteps. Chapter 1369. Because of this, the last time when Yi Qing Luo invited Lu Xiaoyu to join the World Mercenary Group, Lu Xiaoyu rejected. It wasn't that Lu Xiaoyu didn't want to join, but she wasn't willing to drag Yi Qing Luo down. This time, the position of Faculty Council's Vice President gave her a good learning opportunity. If she could do the Vice President's position well, she would definitely be able to help Yi Qing Luo. Then go and do it. Yi Qing Luo smiled as she caressed her head. Xiao Yu wants to learn, then agree to the president's request. But Lu Xiaoyu's eyelids drooped. Yi Qing Luo had a few conflicts with the faculty council, and she was the clearest about it. Even Master Guo Yu had created a huge ruckus in the faculty council. If she agreed to become the faculty council's vice president, wouldn't that be betraying Yi Qing Luo? No buts. Yi Qing Luo shook her head as she stopped her words. Don't you want to grow and help me? Following that, she lowered her voice to a volume that only the two of them could hear and said, I don't have anyone in the faculty council. If you're the vice president of the faculty council, the students of the devil class will have more freedom in the academy. Lu Xiaoyu was stunned as her pupils widened. Not waiting for her to cry out in shock, Yi Qing Luo had already rubbed her head, as though she was a big sister placating her. Just do according to what Xiaoyu has in mind. You only need to remember one point. Me, devil class, will be your backing. Lu Xiaoyu pursed her lips as her eyes glistened with tears. She was touched, but I'm afraid I can't do it well. I'm not smart and have no innate talent. Nonsense. Yi Qing Luo interrupted Lu Xiaoyu's self-deprecation. Xiaoyu, do you know what your biggest strength is? Lu Xiaoyu had a blank look. It's your persistence and unyielding faith. Yi Qing Luo smiled. Do you still remember the first time we were at the freshman training grounds? All the freshmen had given up on running. Only you persisted in running the entire course. After that, for all the training, you will persist in completing every single task. Yi Qing Luo's smile became warmer. You're great, much better than what you imagined. Lu Xiaoyu's eyes instantly turned red. I will definitely work hard. She clenched her fists tightly and turned around. Facing Si Yanmu, she bowed and said, President in the future, please guide me. Si Yanmu's eyes were warm. He smiled and nodded. Welcome to the Faculty Council, Vice President. Lu Xiaoyu bent her waist even lower. I will try my best not to cause trouble for the president. Hearing the incessant chatter, Yi Qing Luo helplessly laughed out as she walked forward to help Lu Xiaoyu up. Her charming eyes slightly lifted and looked into Boss Yanmu's eyes. President, in the future, Xiaoyu will have to trouble you. If Xiaoyu causes you any trouble, please don't hesitate to look for me. I will not stand on ceremony. Si Yanmu smiled elegantly. Yi Qing Luo returned a smile. Since you're already the vice president of the faculty council, I'll leave all the matters of the faculty council to you. Zi Qianqian, who had been silent for a long time, suddenly spoke. She crossed her arms over her chest and coldly glanced at the young lady who was kneeling by the side, sobbing softly. The student's portrait, that is the student's privacy, and also something that the school pays great attention to protecting. She snuck into the president's office and stole the devil class's portrait. Vice President, how do you think we should deal with this? Yan Zhenfei, who was kneeling on the ground, suddenly trembled. She thought that the people from the faculty council had shifted their attention away from her. Why did it involve her again? Chapter 1370. Lu Xiaoyu's expression stiffened. I deal with it? She looked over at Yan Zhenfei. Coincidentally, Yan Zhenfei was staring at her with a venomous gaze. Lu Xiaoyu was so shocked that she took a step back towards Yiqing Luo. The expression on her face turned uglier. I don't know about these. Before she could say the word understand, Xian Mu's gentle voice had interrupted Lu Xiaoyu's rejection. Qianshan's suggestion is not bad, then this matter will be handed over to the vice president to deal with. His gaze was gentle, and his smile made one feel as if spring had bloomed, as if he really didn't hear Lu Xiaoyu's rejection, and didn't see Lu Xiaoyu's increasingly ugly expression. Instead, it was the kind of gaze that encouraged his juniors to complete the task well, making one have no choice but to accept this task, no choice but to obey his orders. Si Yanmu was a natural leader. He could easily manipulate people's emotions, making people involuntarily listen to his arrangements. Such a person was indeed suitable to be the faculty council president. At this moment, Lu Xiaoyu's refusal was stuck in her throat. The words that came out of her mouth were completely different from the words that came out of her brain. Okay, I will try my best. Just as the voice fell, Lu Xiaoyu stopped in annoyance. She covered her mouth tightly with both hands. Slender eyelashes were desperately fluttering. The beautiful eyes under the eyelashes stared at Si Yanmu, incomparably annoyed. Zi Qianqian snorted coldly, unable to conceal the coldness and disdain between her brows. Then, Vice President, I will have to trouble you here. After that, she used a cold and arrogant gaze to look at the students around her. This student, Lu Xiaoyu, will be the future vice president of the faculty council. She is a freshman, so students, don't forget to help this newly appointed vice president in the future. The president and I still have things to deal with in the faculty council. Everyone must get along peacefully. That tone was raised to an extremely high pitch. Yiqing Luo felt that it was a little ear-piercing. Zi Qianqian deliberately emphasized the words, help, help. The meaning in those words was extremely obvious. A freshman became the vice president of the faculty council. For countless old students, as well as Lu Shuiyu's group of supporters, they would never give up. Moreover, Lu Xiaoyu was just an ordinary freshman. Even now, he only had the title of vice president. However, Zi Qianqian's words clearly indicated that this vice president did not have the slightest bit of authority. Zi Qianqian was the one who held the true authority of the vice president. You're too polite, student Zi. Suddenly, a clear voice came from beside Lu Xiaoyu. Yiqing Luo's lips curled into an extremely shallow smile. Her charming eyes curved into a long and narrow arc. Just by looking forward with a faint smile, she exuded a demonic charm. I'm very happy for Xiaoyu that my little sister is valued by the president. Her voice wasn't loud, but it wasn't soft either. His tone and tone were controlled, just right. It was clearly domineering and overbearing, but it was impossible for others to feel aversion towards it. This is my sister's first time taking on such an important position. I believe that she will be able to gradually grow with everyone's help. If one day this sister of mine is able to hold her own, I, Yiqing Luo, will definitely represent the entire devil class to thank all the students for their help. Yiqing Luo's words were sincere and sincere. A pair of smiling eyes also sincerely looked at the surrounding people. Yiqing Luo's words had just landed. Chapter 1371. What a joke! This was Yi Qing Luo's sister. Who was Yi Qing Luo? The most popular person in the school, the champion of this year's interclass competition. They had already witnessed Yi Qing Luo's strength in the interclass competition. In just a few months' time, she was able to turn from a waste to the current. Earth profound fourth grade profound cultivator. This kind of advancement speed. In this world, only the Overlord from the Imperial Palace could be comparable to her. Speaking of the Overlord, didn't Yi Qing Luo and DMO Xian have that kind of relationship? Everyone was clear about the relationship between DMO Xian and Yi Qing Luo when it concerned the Overlord. But they would never mention the fact that Yi Qing Luo had not reported to her parents and had already decided to marry the Overlord, which was such an immoral thing. Yes, there was still the Overlord. Obviously, Yi Qing Luo was the most popular person in the school now. They naturally had to stand on Yi Qing Luo's side. As for the number one beauty, Zi Qianqian, in the last interclass competition, they were already full of things to complain about. Now she was still arrogant and commanding everyone. It was more reliable for them to stand on Yi Qing Luo's side. At least, looking at Yi Qing Luo's attitude towards Lu Xiaoyu and her attitude towards her classmates, it was very clear. Yi Qing Luo must be an affectionate and righteous woman. The cheers of the students were mixed with sarcasm and ridicule towards Zi Qianqian. Zi Qianqian, who had not gone far, had a gloomy expression. If Si Yanmu had not stopped her, she would have rushed forward and had another battle with Yi Qing Luo. Haven't you embarrassed yourself enough? Si Yanmu's tone was still gentle, but what he said made Zi Qianqian's eyes redden. Toward Si Yanmu, Zi Qianqian still did not have the usual arrogance and condescension. Si Yanmu was the class monitor of the God class. Zi Qianqian naturally respected him. President Lu Xiaoyu has become the vice president of the faculty council. Since Yi Qing Luo is so affectionate, then she is bound to be involved with the faculty council. By then, Si Yanmu's voice sank. His gentle eyes narrowed slightly. Zi Qianqian frowned. Why tie Yi Qing Luo to the faculty council? Just based on her, what qualifications does she have to be involved with the faculty council? Si Yanmu did not answer. He rubbed his chin, the coldness in his eyes faintly flowing. Why? Because he was a member of the underworld. For his Xiang, he wanted to pave a straight path to the destination. Lu Xiaoyu was the best candidate. In the afternoon, Xia Yan brought good news. Director and elder quarters had already agreed for Yi Qing Luo to retain Devil Class. As for High Profound Class 2, it was temporarily vacant. Thank you for abiding by our agreement. Yi Qing Luo looked at the contract in her hands, which was signed by the director and the elders' quarters, as she gave a satisfied smile. She folded the contract and placed it in the profound phoenix ring. With this contract in hand, all the students in the Devil Class were all free and unfettered. In this heavenly academy, no matter if it was the dean or the elders, no one had the authority to order the students of the Devil Class to do anything. Xia Yan shook his head. Since it's an agreement, I will naturally do my best. Yi Qing Luo smiled. That's right. Xia Yan hesitated for a while. As he looked away unnaturally, I heard, Xiao Yu has become the vice president of the faculty council? Xiao Yu? Chapter 1372. The faculty council. She's just a new student. Wouldn't that be too much pressure for her? Xia Yan tried to be tactful. The interest in Yi Qing Luo's eyes intensified. Student Xia seems to care a lot about Xiao Yu. Xia Yan's handsome face instantly flushed red. His gaze wandered around unnaturally. No, it's just that we used to be in the same class. As the former class monitor, when I heard that she had become the vice president of the faculty council, I naturally showed some concern. It's my first time coming into contact with the affairs of the faculty council, and I'm also the vice president. The pressure must be huge. Yi Qing Luo stopped teasing Xia Yen, as her lips curled into a smile. But to Xiaoyu, this is a huge turning point in her life. This is Xiaoyu's choice. No matter how much pressure she's under, no matter how busy she is, as long as she doesn't tell her to stop, she will be able to hold on. Xie Yen paused. After a long while, he finally nodded his head. Xiaoyu's potential is immeasurable. When she slowly matures and transforms, she will definitely break out of her cocoon and become a butterfly. Yi Qing Luo smiled as she muttered to herself. Metamorphosis from a cocoon to a butterfly. Xie Yan's eyes were overflowing with gentleness. Xiaoyu is a smart girl. I'm sure you've heard about the first mission that was announced after Xiaoyu was appointed, right? Xie Yan nodded. Lu Xiaoyu had indeed dealt with Yan Jinfei. However, the way to deal with it was not what everyone expected, to take the chance to kill Yan Jinfei. Lu Xiaoyu was very fair and strict. Slandering a devil-class student was a huge offense. Being disrespectful to a teacher was a grave offense. Stealing a student's portrait from the faculty council and betraying a student's privacy had severely damaged the reputation of the academy. Lu Xiaoyu forced Yan Jinfei out of the faculty council as a warning to others. As for the matter of betraying a student's privacy, the student who was betrayed was the devil class. Under Lu Xiaoyu's pleading, the students of the devil class chose to forgive Yan Jinfei and no longer pursued the matter. Therefore, according to the rules of the faculty council, Lu Xiaoyu noted down 2 minor demerits for Yan Jinfei and announced it to the entire academy, criticizing Yan Jinfei's behavior. Of course, this was not the most important thing. What made Yi Qing Luo unable to restrain her laughter was Lu Xiaoyu was also a black-bellied girl. She said that Yan Jinfei's thoughts were not correct and that she was impatient. It was extremely imposing. He led the members of the faculty council and personally escorted Yan Jinfei back to the Yan family. He told Yan Jinfei to recuperate at home for 2 months before returning to the academy, although he did not expel Yan Jinfei from the academy. But this punishment was no different from the humiliation Yan Jinfei had suffered when she was expelled from the academy. However, all of Lu Xiaoyu's punishments were reasonable. Speaking of which, he was already being merciful. This was enough to prove that Lu Xiaoyu was not as stupid as she seemed on the surface. Her intelligence and meticulousness were hidden in her heart. If it's possible, when student Xie is free, help me take a look at Xiaoyu, guide her and give her some help. I think, Xiaoyu will be very grateful to you. Yi Qing Luo said with a smile. Xie Yan suddenly raised his head. Of course, I will definitely help Xiaoyu. These words were spoken extremely quickly, and they were sonorous and forceful. It was as if he had blurted out his inner thoughts. Xie Yan realized that he was overreacting and hurriedly explained, As the former class president, it's only right for me to care about my former classmates. Yi Qing Luo smiled without saying a word, until she sent Xie Yan off with her eyes. Yi Qing Luo turned around and returned to the devil class's courtyard. In the following days, they had to prepare for the academy's exchange meet, which was half a month later. The director and Wolf Saint Technique had prepared such a huge surprise for the devil class in South Continent. Chapter 1373. Devil class was back on the right track. Everything was the same as before, but more or less, there was some difference. In the past, when these students appeared in the academy, no one cared about them. Now, no matter where these students went, they would be chased by a group of fangirls. Even Ni Ruopan, Beiming Liancheng, and the rest of the profound grades, who were currently in the mystic profound grades, had captured a large number of supporters who were even higher than them. Initially, devil class's students were still enjoying it. After all, these people used to look down on them, ridiculing them, saying that they were trash. But now, no matter where they went, they were respected, admired, and envied. Of course, this didn't mean that these youngsters were too complacent. These were all youngsters in their teens, so their minds were not mature yet. Naturally, they would be complacent because of the change in the students' attitude towards them. But after a long time, These students tasted the pressure of being supported and flattered by their supporters. They had to undergo extremely strict training every day. There was the integrated training from the few members of the class committee and also GUE-use training. After that, they had to be surrounded by the other students, asking them some messy questions. Wherever they went, there would be people following them. Over time, these students simply holed up in the courtyard of the devil class, too lazy to go out. Yiqing Luo had also experienced the ancient method of chasing after stars. This degree of craziness was absolutely not inferior to those fans in the modern era. The other students, after going through the interclass competition, initially didn't feel that devil class's performance was very impressive. To be able to obtain victory, that was because of Yiqing Luo's good luck. But under the intentional popularization, how devil class's students cooperated, how they pretended to be disheveled, in actual fact, they were leading those students in circles to deplete their energy. Following that, Yiqing Luo specially placed some of devil class's physical training on the public square. These training was even stricter than their freshmen's training. Those students who thought that they were elite students after seeing these training were completely defeated. Even the two cold-faced instructors in charge of the freshman training, Instructor He and Instructor Chu, had joined their training. Devil class was indeed no longer the previous waste class. It could be said that devil class was completely popular. Yiqing Luo's reputation became even more resounding. But these few days, Yiqing Luo obviously felt a trace of strangeness. How should one describe this feeling? It seemed that ever since they returned from the Shi family's residence, these youths in devil class had an obvious change in attitude towards her, Long Yunjian, and the rest. Long Yunjian also felt this change. The youths of devil class were still the same youths. However, they seemed to be more respectful and well-behaved toward her and Long Yunjian. She would never go against anything they had said. They were so well-behaved that they didn't seem like children of their age. If it was in the past, she wanted to strengthen the training. Although these youths would still listen to her orders obediently in the end. But before he listened, he would definitely wail incessantly or even roll around and act cute. Asking Yiqing Luo to cancel her plan of strengthening the training. Being obedient was a good thing. But Yiqing Luo recalled that when they were at the Shi family's residence, their attitude towards her and Shi Shanglan was obviously different. Yiqing Luo couldn't help but creased her brows. He always felt that it was too easy to get out of the Shi family's residence. Chapter 1374. Yiqing Luo's mind was filled with messy thoughts, unable to stop. She sighed as she pushed open the door to the dormitory, which she had not stepped into for half a month. She could obviously feel that when she stayed in the devil class, those youngsters' emotions were too tensed up. She might as well return to the dormitory. If she wasn't around, those youngsters should be able to relax. Walking into the dormitory, she discovered that there was no one around. Thinking about it, it made sense. After Lu Xiaoyu took over the vice president's position, she had been at the faculty council every day, trying her best to learn the vice president's ability. As for Mo Yuing, she appeared and disappeared unpredictably. If she didn't want to appear, basically no one would be able to see her. The other, Lu Shuiyu. It seemed like after the interclass competition, there was no news of her coming to the academy. Looking at the empty dormitory, Yiqing Luo sighed softly as she walked into her own dormitory. So lonely. All along, she had been together with the students and had never separated before. Now she was isolated by the students. This feeling was not good at all. I'm not around Lil Luo or feels lonely? A mellow and deep voice that was as mellow as fine wine rang in his ears. That distance was extremely close, as though it was right next to her ear. Yiqing Luo got a shock as she immediately turned around. Warm, thin lips brushed past her skin. Yiqing Luo had yet to react, and at the moment she turned around, she felt the world spinning as her feet left the ground. She cried out in shock as she subconsciously wrapped her arms around the man's neck. A warm kiss landed on her lips. The elegant sandalwood scent filled up Yi Qing Luo's empty heart. Ah, Xian! Yi Qing Luo's breathing was hurried as she called out Dmo Xian's name. Her voice had just left her mouth. The next moment, she was already pressed onto the soft bed. A head of fine black hair scattered onto the white pillow, his scorching hot body pressed down. Ah, Xian! Yi Qing Luo's face was flushed red, both her hands propped on his chest as she lowered her eyes. Dmo Xian narrowed his long peach blossom eyes as he gazed deeply at the woman below him. A beauty that could topple a city, her eyes were like silk as she emitted a charming invitation. Sparkling peach blossom eyes, the lustrous luster became darker. It seemed even more profound and intoxicating. Ah, Xian, don't press on me, it's very heavy. Yi Qing Luo's charming eyes were stained with tears as she was extremely shy. When they were in the Shi family's residence, Dmo Xian would basically appear in her room at night, hugging her to sleep. When she woke up the next day, he was nowhere to be found. And after returning to the academy, Dmo Xian still needed to use the identity of revered Mo to handle the matters of the academy. As a result, it had been a long time since they had had a proper conversation or interaction. She hadn't expected him to appear in her dormitory room at this time. He had even used his true appearance to show himself. Wasn't he afraid of being discovered by the students of the academy or other teachers? Lil Luo, without you by my side, I also feel so lonely. The man's low and hoarse voice seemed to carry countless tenderness. It made one involuntarily want to sink into his warmth. Yi Qing Luo's heart thumped uncontrollably. At the same time, Dmo Xian slightly propped up his body to avoid his entire body's weight, pressing onto Yi Qing Luo. However, he only moved away a little. His hot chest was still tightly pressed against her body. Chapter 1375. He lowered his eyelids and met her gaze. His scorching gaze seemed to burn her body. Yi Qing Luo felt her entire body was burning hot. She instinctively shifted her gaze away and stretched out her hand to push his burning hot chest as she bit her lips. Ah, Xian, you get up first. Dmo Xian's gaze was so blatant. How could she not tell what the burning flames in Dmo Xian's eyes represented? Yi Qing Luo evaded. Dmo Xian closed in. His slender fingers gently stroked the air. The greenish-white uniform immediately fell off his body, revealing the water-colored dudu underneath. Ah, Xian! Yi Qing Luo pressed his scorching palm as she twisted her body and shrunk in the opposite direction. But before she could move, his body was pinned under his body by a large palm. Dmo Xian's eyes were fixated on her delicate face. Lil Luo, have you forgotten what I said earlier? Yi Qing Luo's cheeks suddenly turned red. He said, "In a few days I will make her cry for mercy." This was already a few days had passed. Her reliance to provoke Dmo Xian, Aunt Menstruation, had already paid a visit and left. Looking at Dmo Xian's current stance, it was obvious that he would not give up until he achieved his goal. She had to think of a way. Oh, before she could think of a way, Yi Qing Luo's mind suddenly went blank as her petite body started trembling. His hand actually slid directly into the dudu. That touch stimulated Yi Qing Luo like an electric shock. Reflexively, she pressed Dmo Xian's hand again. But Dmo Xian's reaction was faster than her. He directly grabbed both her hands and raised them above her head. His body had already moved downwards, using his mouth to replace the action of his hands. She had lived 2 lifetimes. This was the first time Yi Qing Luo was touched in this way. She only felt a numbing electric shock from head to toe, making her unable to muster up any strength. Her mind was also blank. She almost cried out uncontrollably. "Ah, Xian, wait. I have something to tell you. It's the Academy's recent matters. DMO Xian added more force. We'll talk about it later. Ah. Yi Qing Luo sucked in a mouthful of cold air as she stuttered. And Devil Class's students, they. DMO Xian abruptly opened his doo-doo. We'll talk about it later. Yi Qing Luo's charming eyes were already sparkling and translucent, as her body trembled uncontrollably. The consciousness in her mind also started to dissipate. But. He leaned down and kissed her lips forcefully. His hands didn't stop moving. Can't you shut your mouth? The next day, when Yi Qing Luo woke up, the sky was already bright. She wanted to rub her eyes, but she felt sore all over. He didn't even have the strength to lift his hand. It was as if someone had broken his bones and then reconstructed his body. She frowned and groaned. Let's rest a little longer. Suddenly, she heard a man's low and hoarse voice. Yi Qing Luo cried out in shock as she raised her head abruptly and met with a pair of peach blossom eyes which were filled with a satisfied and pampering smile. The memories from last night immediately rushed into his mind. Her cheeks suddenly turned red. Last night, she and DMO Xian. She was actually eaten by DMO Xian, and it really came true to DMO Xian's words. She cried for mercy. Her cries were heart-wrenching and extremely tragic. But a beast like DMO Xian, she was begging for mercy, and couldn't stop DMO Xian's actions. Tired. Feel. No. Love. DMO Xian held her slender wrist with one hand. Yi Qing Luo's body stiffened as her face turned crimson red. She cried out in a hoarse voice, No, I can't anymore, Xian, don't. She was still in pain now. This man who had just started didn't know how to control himself? Wait, DMO Xian's past. She had no way to understand. And how could she be sure that DMO Xian had just started? Last night's actions were so skillful. Could it be that in the past? The wild thoughts in her mind had yet to come to a conclusion. DMO Xian had already pulled her body into his embrace. Their exposed skin was tightly pressed against each other. Yi Qing Luo could clearly feel the changes in her body, so shy that she wanted to retreat. But she had no energy. Lil Luo. He called out her name in a low voice. Yi Qing Luo was bashful and confused about the reason why his proficiency points were maxed out. She gave a muffled N in his arms. Chapter 1376. Yi Qing Luo suddenly raised her eyes. Her tearful eyes met his. His breathing suddenly stopped. Her cheeks were slightly flushed. He said he loved her. DMO Xian had said a lot of sweet nothings, but this was the first time he had sincerely said the word love. She knew that DMO Xian loved her, but based on DMO Xian's character, he would absolutely not say such a confession. She had never thought that DMO Xian would say this. At this moment, she heard it from his mouth. Yi Qing Luo only felt that her world was blooming with colorful fireworks. Soreness all over, the pain in his body, as well as earlier. Because DMO Xian might have had sexual relations with other women in the past. Everything was thrown to the back of his mind. She smiled happily. I love you too, Xian. A rough and urgent kiss landed on her lips. Yi Qing Luo moaned softly as her swollen lips were ravaged by him viciously. It hurt a little. His body temperature rose again. It scorched Yi Qing Luo's skin. Yi Qing Luo wanted to struggle. Xian, stop! This man, why doesn't he seem to be full? If he did it again, she would be the one who was going to be broken. Don't, Xian. It hurts, it really hurts. Yi Qing Luo showed her weakness as she held DMO Xian's hand, her charming eyes looking at him pitifully. DMO Xian's body stiffened and immediately tensed up. This kind of begging and showing of weakness made his desire burn even more vigorously. He really wanted to press Yi Qing Luo onto his body again, to properly feel her existence. Last night's tightness and that comfortable feeling. No matter how much he ate, he couldn't beat them. However, he still forced himself to hold on and stopped. He propped himself up and gazed deeply at the girl with crimson cheeks and seductive eyes. Her eyes were hazy and seductive. Her hair, which was drenched in sweat, clung tightly to her skin, making her look extremely sexy. It was clear that she was aroused. However, there was a glimmer of tears at the corner of her eyes. Her petite body could not stop trembling. He had lost his self-control last night, eating Yi Qing Luo over and over again. No wonder Yi Qing Luo was crying out in pain. He turned sideways and fell beside Yi Qing Luo as he stretched out his hand and caressed her body. Where does it hurt? Why are you asking when you already know the answer? Yi Qing Luo was so angry that her cheeks turned red as she gritted her teeth and rebuked. Here, he reached out and touched the place where he had played with her. Yi Qing Luo's petite body couldn't stop trembling as her breathing quickened. Emperor! Ink. Xian. His fingers were very gentle. It was as if he was touching the most precious thing in the world. Yi Qing Luo's body trembled, but she didn't feel any pain at all. Dmo Xian withdrew his hand and hugged her tightly as his warm lips kissed her panting lips. I'm sorry I've hurt you. Seeing that he really had no intention of continuing, Yi Qing Luo heaved a sigh of relief. Now, she totally had no way to endure Dmo Xian's crazy plundering. Fortunately, this man had not transformed into a beast. And it really hurts. Yi Qing Luo pouted her lips and cried out pitifully and aggrievedly. But in his heart he was secretly laughing. She didn't want to pretend to be aggrieved. Wouldn't it allow Dmo Xian to be even more unbridled in the future? For the sake of her future life, she must restrain Dmo Xian's desire. I'm sorry. Dmo Xian apologized once again as his long arms wrapped tightly around her petite body. His gaze was deep. I don't have any experience in this area and don't know how to control myself. I've hurt you. I'll be more careful next time. Chapter 1377. This time, she almost lost half of her life. If there was another time, she would definitely die. Wait, what did he just say? Yi Qing Luo suddenly reacted. The anger in her eyes turned into surprise and suspicion. You have no experience. No experience. In other words, Dmo Xian had never had a woman before? She was his first woman? Then, how did he manage to fill up the proficiency points that he was so familiar with? Where did he get the skills to torment her so badly? The guilt and tenderness in Dmo Xian's eyes faded away. He stretched out his hand and pinched her lower jaw directly. The slightly squinted peach blossom eyes were deep and quiet. He stared at her condescendingly with an imposing manner. Are you doubting me? Yi Qing Luo was stunned by his imposing manner as she lowered her eyes. I feel that you are very powerful, so a trace of smile gradually appeared in his quiet eyes. He loosened the strength that pinched her lower jaw and lowered his head. How am I powerful? At such a close distance, Yi Qing Luo could feel Dmo Xian's breath on her lips. She wanted to retreat, but Dmo Xian hugged her even tighter. His lips were on her face. If you don't explain clearly, I will continue. Dmo Xian. Yi Qing Luo flew into a rage out of humiliation. If you tease me again, I will kick you off the bed. Dmo Xian gave a low laugh, but stopped the act of forcing her to say such shameful words. His arms tightened around her as he whispered in her ear, In this big world, the only woman who can enter my eyes is only you. Yi Qing Luo's long, curly eyelashes fluttered. Was he explaining her previous suspicions? Other than her, he would not touch any other woman. Was this the promise he made to her? Yi Qing Luo closed her eyes as her hands tightly circled around his neck, whether it was a promise or not. At this moment, she took it seriously. Dmo Xian was not a person who spoke casually. Whatever he said, he would definitely do it. She believed in Dmo Xian, and also believed in the feelings between them. The two of them snuggled together on the bed for another 1 hour. The school bell had already rung for lunch. Yi Qing Luo then realized with a start that it was already noon. Oh no, morning training. She still had to watch the devil classes students train, and had actually forgotten about this matter. Yi Qing Luo hurriedly tried to get up. The arm that was around her waist pulled her into his embrace. Yi Qing Luo's delicate body fell backwards. She fell into the scorching embrace of Dmo Xian. Don't underestimate your brothers. Even if you're not here, they won't stop their training. Dmo Xian caressed her fine black hair. Based on your current condition, I'm afraid you won't be able to train your brothers. Yi Qing Luo's cheeks blushed slightly as she pouted. Can't you see who's the one who caused this? She was exhausted and had no strength left in her. Even if he went to the devil class, he probably wouldn't be able to do much. It was also possible the students of the devil class saw through it. You take a good rest today. Dmo Xian met her reproachful gaze. All right, I'll bring you some food first to replenish your energy. With that, he gently kissed her lips. Following that, he lifted the blanket and got off the bed. Yi Qing Luo gave in awe as she tugged the blanket and covered her head. He was actually naked. From head to toe, he was totally naked. She even saw. Cough, cough. Chapter 1378. But a beauty was right in front of her. If she didn't take a look, it would be a waste of such a good opportunity. Yi Qing Luo was extremely conflicted. After thinking for a moment, she heard the rustling sound of a man putting on his clothes not too far away. Yi Qing Luo clenched her teeth as she grabbed the quilt and lifted a small gap. The pitch-black vision was instantly filled with light. Yi Qing Luo blinked her eyes as she searched for the man's figure in the bedroom. Yi Qing Luo saw the man standing by the bed at one glance. He had finished putting on his pants, revealing his well-dressed upper body. Those muscles which were full of tension, the lines were extremely smooth. Strong and muscular body, perfect pectoral muscles, all of which made Yi Qing Luo blush. His skin was extremely fair, but there wasn't any sense of incongruity. On the contrary, it made him look even more alluring. Yi Qing Luo couldn't help but recall last night, her hands pressing on his skin in a fluster, tight and firm, but it made her feel very comfortable. Ah, pooey pooey. Yi Qing Luo, who was curled up in the quilt, slammed her face onto the bed. She was actually reminiscing about last night. She didn't feel that he was comfortable. Yi Qing Luo's head rubbed on the bed for a long time before she raised her head and looked towards the direction of Dmo Xian. This look almost made Yi Qing Luo jump in fright. She had just raised her eyes and looked at Dmo Xian through the small gap. Through the small gap, he saw a peerlessly beautiful face magnified in his eyes at close range. That handsome godlike face with a deep contour. His thin lips were lightly outlined. The arc was devilishly charming. It was totally seducing her, and the rhythm of pouncing on her fiercely. Have you seen enough? His voice was low and hoarse, extremely gentle. Ah, rub, rub, rub. Now this is awkward. Peeking at a beauty was discovered by the main character. If you haven't seen enough, I'll take it off. You can continue looking? Dmo Xian leaned closer, his arched handsome brows showing his joyful mood. Saying that, his slender fingers had already touched the waist seal, as though he was about to undo it. You, stop. Yi Qing Luo's flushed face was boiling hot. She abruptly jumped out of the blanket and stretched out her hand to hold onto Dmo Xian's burning hot palm. No need to take it off. I've seen enough. Dmo Xian raised his brows and narrowed his peach blossom eyes. Just as he was about to open his mouth, he was suppressed by Yi Qing Luo's voice. That figure is great. Your abs and chest muscles are very tempting. Let me touch your abs and chest some other day. Ah. Dmo Xian looked at Yi Qing Luo's flushed, red little face, thinking that she would be able to squeeze out a sentence after holding it in for so long. Ha! Unexpectedly, was he being teased by Lil Lor? The feeling of being flirted with was not bad at all. Yi Qing Luo's complexion was boiling hot. Listening to the man's exaggerated laughter, she sat up angrily, raised her fist and hit him. You still laugh at me? I'll hammer your chest with my little fists. Her voice was half coquettish, half coquettish. This made Dmo Xian's mood even more joyous, and his smile became even more joyous. Yi Qing Luo couldn't wait to dig a hole and hide in it. Suddenly, Dmo Xian grabbed her wrist and moved it towards his chest. Following that, he grabbed her hand and slowly moved it downwards. Yi Qing Luo was shocked and wanted to retract her hand. But how could her strength match up to Dmo Xian? She was dragged by him and groped all over his chest and abdomen. Chapter 1379. Hey, hey, hey! Flirting and driving at the slightest disagreement. This was against the rules, all right. Yi Qing Luo was extremely embarrassed and had no way to struggle free from Dmo Xian. Beast! I'm not thinking of touching you now. I'm hungry. Hurry and buy me something to eat. She acted like a queen as she commanded Dmo Xian. Dmo Xian's eyes were gentle as he held her wrist tightly and placed it on his waist as he bent over and kissed her lips. The warm lips brought with it a restrained desire. He wanted Yi Qing Luo, and all the hopes he had for her were all contained in this kiss. Yi Qing Luo was kissed till she couldn't breathe. She naturally sensed his thoughts from the intense kiss. Yi Qing Luo's face flushed red as her delicate body fell limply into his arms. This kiss almost took half of Yi Qing Luo's life. Yi Qing Luo felt that she was about to faint. In his mind, everything in front of him was white, as though something had exploded in front of her eyes. She panted heavily as she leaned into Dmo Xian's arms, totally without any energy to resist. Lil Luo, really don't want to stop. Dmo Xian's deep eyes were emitting a dense whirlpool. He tightened his grip on her waist. Even through the clothes, Yi Qing Luo could clearly feel the scorching heat emitted from Dmo Xian's body, burning everything about her. He wanted again. Yi Qing Luo's face flushed red. Although she knew clearly that this kind of thing, if Dmo Xian continued to hold it in, he might possibly get sick. But she was really in pain. There was really no other way. To endure Dmo Xian's plunder, what should she do? Yi Qing Luo's mind was in a dilemma. Dmo Xian's deep eyes gazed deeply at the young lady below him, that trembling body and fluttering eyelashes. All of them were sending him a silent invitation. Dmo Xian took a deep breath and used an extremely strong willpower to shift his gaze away. He tensed his body and clenched his fists as he suddenly retracted his hand and stood up straight. He could not touch Yi Qing Luo, although he had no experience in this aspect. He didn't know what kind of feeling a lady would have after experiencing her first night. But he remembered that when he invaded last night, Yi Qing Luo was in so much pain that tears welled up in her eyes. He still remembered her hoarse voice last night, crying for mercy. He had no control. His mad plunder. He must have hurt Yi Qing Luo. If you touch her now, Lil Luo, Ai's body would definitely not be able to withstand it. That, Xian, if you can't hold it in, Yi Qing Luo was just about to say that she couldn't hold it in. If he was gentler, she could still. But the next moment, Dmo Xian had already pulled the blanket over and wrapped her up tightly. Lil Luo, if you tempt me again, even if you beg for mercy, I will not stop. His voice was slightly hoarse as he suppressed his strong emotions. After he finished speaking, he clenched his fists and immediately turned around to walk out of the room. Ah, Xian, Yi Qing Luo's voice had just left her mouth when DMO Xian's figure had already disappeared from the bedroom. Yi Qing Luo straightened her body, enduring the soreness in her waist. His feet slipped out of the blanket and he was about to get off the bed. Only then did he realize that he was completely naked. In other words, she had just stopped DMO Xian from releasing the waist seal. The way she looked in front of DMO Xian, cough cough. All along she was completely naked. Had DMO Xian seen everything? Yi Qing Luo buried her head into the pillow in embarrassment as she let out a bashful howl. When had she been so careless? Heavens! Chapter 1380. No matter how much Yi Qing Luo wailed, she was so shy that she didn't want to see DMO Xian again. She could only obediently stay in the bedroom and wait for DMO Xian to send her food back. She thought that her stamina was pretty good, but she estimated that no matter how strong his physical strength was, he would not be able to withstand DMO Xian's plundering. She did not even have the strength to stand up, not to mention getting dressed, leaving the bedroom, and avoiding DMO Xian. Yi Qing Luo cupped her burning cheeks, trying her best to retract the words which she had almost said earlier from her mind. I can't think about it anymore. If she continued to think about it, she would really dig a hole. Yi Qing Luo buried her head into the pillow, holding her face as she muttered to herself. Gradually he became drowsy. Not knowing how much time had passed, Yi Qing Luo heard a slight sound beside her ear. She opened her eyes in a daze and saw a man in a flowing purple robe sitting on the side of the bed, staring at her sleeping face. Xian, Yi Qing Luo blushed as she struggled to get up. When did you come back? DMO Xian's long arm stretched out and wrapped around her waist, lifting her up. Yi Qing Luo still remembered that her naked body was seen clearly by DMO Xian earlier. She lowered her head in embarrassment and wanted to pull the blanket over herself. However, he realized that he had put on a white inner garment at some point. She blushed. DMO Xian, when did he help her put on her clothes? Why was she completely unaware of it? Her perceptive ability had become so bad? Little Luo. DMO Xian looked at her gently. Her voice was gentle, and the expression on her face was so tender that it seemed as if water could be squeezed out of it. I'm sorry for hurting you, huh? Yi Qing Luo couldn't react in time. DMO Xian's hand had already wrapped around her body tightly. His chin rested on her shoulder. Even the scorching breath he exhaled was filled with a thick sense of guilt. I don't know. It's a woman's first time, and she can't bear such rough behavior. DMO Xian tightened his grip. When Yi Qing Luo heard that, her face instantly turned red. What are you saying this for? His voice suddenly stopped, because DMO Xian's embrace was a little too big. Her body was encircled by DMO Xian. His body rose a little bit. A cool and refreshing feeling came from beneath his body. That coolness soothed the swelling and pain from DMO Xian's craziness last night. Where are you? Yi Qing Luo was about to scream out loud. This man, when she was asleep, did not just put her underwear on. He even applied ointment there. Was it necessary to be so filial? She no longer had the face to look at DMO Xian's face. She had no face to talk to DMO Xian anymore. Damn it. Could she dig a hole and escape? Sorry for hurting you last night. DMO Xian apologized tenderly once again. His gentleness made Yi Qing Luo's soaring arrogance gradually calm down. Carefully sensing, he could feel that DMO Xian's body was trembling slightly. He was really remorseful for his behavior last night. Where did he learn these things from? But Yi Qing Luo didn't delve into this point. She simply stretched out her arms and wrapped them around his waist as she whispered, It's fine. It's fine as long as it's you. Last night she was in pain. He was in so much pain that he was going to die. But in this pain, She was rejoicing that she could become one with Dmo Xian. She finally accepted everything about Dmo Xian. She became Dmo Xian's woman. To tell the truth, she was satisfied, painful but happy. Chapter 1381. Lil Luo Dmo Xian caressed her face as his peach blossom eyes were filled with tenderness. Yi Qing Luo stretched out her hand and cupped his face as she burst out laughing. Silly, I already said it's all right and I'm really happy. Her words paused as her fingers pinched his nose instead. She straightened her body and stared at him with a rude and unreasonable look. Now, you're already mine, and I've stamped my seal. In future, other than me, you're not allowed to look at any other woman. The smile on Dmo Xian's face became even more devilish. The glistening light embellished his inky black eyes. Other than you, I won't look at anyone else. That's good. Yi Qing Luo nodded her head in satisfaction as she released his nose and said with a thunder look, I'm hungry. Serve this queen my meal. The smile on Dmo Xian's face became even more intense. That smile, that curved eyebrows, those long and narrow eyes. It revealed a warmth and tenderness that made one's heart beat endlessly. Yi Qing Luo was no exception. She was bewitched by Dmo Xian's smile until she almost lost her soul. Yes, my queen. Dmo Xian smiled as he placed the steaming hot porridge aside. It was extremely light, but it gave off an alluring fragrance, which aroused one's appetite. Yi Qing Luo, who had worked hard for the entire night and hadn't eaten anything for the entire day. Immediately his stomach began to growl. Dmo Xian smiled as he scooped up a spoonful of porridge and placed it by his lips to test the temperature before sending it to Yi Qing Luo's lips. Yi Qing Luo's face turned red, just as she was about to reject. That spoonful of porridge had already entered her mouth. The fragrant porridge had a faint taste of minced meat. It was sticky and refreshing. One mouthful, and Yi Qing Luo instantly felt her appetite was aroused. The next spoonful of porridge had already been sent over. Yi Qing Luo didn't argue any further. She opened her mouth and received that spoonful of porridge. One fed, one ate. Very quickly, the bowl of porridge was emptied. Dmo Xian placed the bowl by the side as his slender fingers brushed past her lips, helping her to wipe them. Do you still want more? He asked. Yi Qing Luo shook her head as her eyes were filled with smiles. I'm full. Dmo Xian smiled faintly as he approached the bedside and took her into his arms once again. The familiar scent of sandalwood lingered in his nose. Yi Qing Luo snuggled into his arms. He enjoyed the tranquility and warmth very much. She and Dmo Xian had not been like this for a very long time. They just quietly embraced each other, quietly accompanying each other. Such a simple happiness. That was the greatest happiness. The night was deep. Their necks were intertwined. Tonight, Dmo Xian was not as anxious as yesterday. He has no excessive behavior. Initially, Yi Qing Luo was still on tenterhooks, wondering if Dmo Xian would transform again. In the end, Dmo Xian only gently kissed her forehead and hugged her to sleep. This made Yi Qing Luo not used to it. Logically, she was the one who had been eaten clean last night and was now lying in bed for an entire day. The one with her hands and feet tied should be her. Why was it that Dmo Xian was so well-behaved instead? In the afternoon, when Dmo Xian went to get her food, who did he bump into? Or did he seek knowledge in this area from someone to popularize it? So now his heart ached for her. Couldn't bear to let her be in so much pain that she couldn't get up? Don't let your imagination run wild. Dmo Xian's broad palm covered Yi Qing Luo's hair. If you don't quieten down and can't control yourself, then don't blame me for not suppressing myself. Yi Qing Luo's face turned red. I didn't say anything. Chapter 1382. When Dmo Xian went berserk, he was indeed terrifying. Yi Qing Luo held her breath as she buried her face into his chest and shut her eyes tightly, hypnotizing herself to sleep. The man around her let out a low laugh. His broad and warm chest was heaving up and down. Yi Qing Luo's face was scorched by that chest. She was embarrassed and annoyed as her face turned red. "What are you laughing at?" Dmo Xian still couldn't stop laughing. He slightly relaxed his arms as he lowered his head and used her hair as a pillow. "Silly girl, I asked you not to intentionally tease me. I didn't ask you not to breathe." Yi Qing Luo buried her head even deeper in embarrassment. I didn't tease you." Dmo Xian laughed so hard that his chest vibrated. Yi Qing Luo flew into a rage out of embarrassment as she stretched out her hand to scratch him. She had just raised her hand when her wrist was held in Dmo Xian's palm. His broad and warm palm was placed on her skin. Yi Qing Luo's petite body trembled as she wanted to retract her hand, but he held it even tighter. This couldn't be. A sign that he was about to go berserk? This thought flashed past her mind as Yi Qing Luo's body suddenly tensed up. Xian, I must return to the devil class tomorrow as we are about to go to the South Continent. Before she could finish her words, that palm which was holding her wrist entered her fingers and intertwined with her fingers. His warm and smiling voice stirred one's heart. "So, Lil Luo is thinking about this." He lowered his head as his warm lips landed on her neck. Warm breath sprayed. Yi Qing Luo shivered as tiny goosebumps appeared on her skin. Xian! Her body was even more sensitive than before. Dmo Xian's tiny movement made her body boiling hot. "Lil Luo wants it." Dmo Xian looked at Yi Qing Luo's reaction in satisfaction as he gave a low laugh. "No," she replied without hesitation, no matter how sensitive her body was. Dmo Xian's actions, no matter how much it stirred her body and mind. Yi Qing Luo was determined not to. If she nodded, she was probably going to die on this bed. Although, I really want it. Amused by her reply, Dmo Xian hugged her tighter. "But in order to not let you resist this kind of thing in future, I will not do anything tonight." Yi Qing Luo's eyes lit up as she arched into his arms and raised her head, using her sparkling eyes to look at him. "Really?" The pair of charming eyes seemed to be embellished with shimmering brilliance. Dmo Xian's smiling face was clearly reflected on it. Her cheeks were red, and her face was full of shyness. This impact made Dmo Xian's lower abdomen tighten. His voice was hoarse. He narrowed his eyes and said word by word, "If you tempt me again, I can't guarantee it." That burning goal was filled with an urgent desire for the valley. How could Yi Qing Luo not tell? Her cheeks turned even redder. She spat at him and lowered her eyes. "You shameless beast. I'm telling you, you already scared me last night. I'm already very resistant to this kind of thing. Don't even think about doing it to me in the future." Overruled. His hoarse and deep voice was calm and emotionless. Yi Qing Luo pursed her pink lips and groaned gloomily. Overruled just because he said so? Not even married yet and already wanted to be the head of the household? Humph. She was the real head of the household. She couldn't control Dmo Xian now. In the future, after they got married, wouldn't he go to heaven? Just as she was about to be incomparably domineering and snatch back the position of the head of the household, that scorching hot palm suddenly touched the profound phoenix ring on her fingertip. A burst of scorching heat entered the profound phoenix ring. Her fingertip felt hot, and she immediately congealed her gaze towards her own hand. Chapter 1383. The profound phoenix ring was flickering with a red glow that resembled electric currents. A drop of bewitching blood fell right in the middle of the profound phoenix ring. This was Dmo Xian's blood. He was the one who cut his finger, and a drop of blood dripped down. "Do you still remember the profound phoenix ring?" he whispered into her ear. Yi Qing Luo nodded. Her eyes seemed to be dyed with a touch of bewitching red under the fiery glow of the profound phoenix ring. This ring was something that Dmo Xian had left for her the first time they met. It was also the first gift that Dmo Xian had given her. She still remembered that when Dmo Xian forcibly contracted this ring with her, he had said something. He said, "Once you accept this lord's ring, you will belong to this lord." At that time, she didn't think much of it. She had never thought that she would belong to anyone. Unexpectedly, after going through many twists and turns, she finally became Dmo Xian's woman. She had just crossed over and met Dmo Xian and accepted his gift. She and Dmo Xian, it seemed like a natural fate. Thinking of the past, Yi Qing Luo's eyes were filled with smiles. She gazed at the profound phoenix ring that was still fusing with the drop of blood and smiled. "Ah Xian, from that time onwards, you fell in love with me at first sight." Otherwise as arrogant and noble as his lord Dizun, why would he give his supreme netherworld phoenix ring to an irrelevant girl like her without hesitation? Yi Qing Luo didn't believe that Dmo Xian was someone who would lend a helping hand when he saw someone molesting a young lady. Even if Dmo Xian was initially interested in this body of hers and lent a helping hand, but he would absolutely not give away the profound phoenix ring so easily. So Dmo Xian had fallen in love with her from the beginning. Yi Qing Luo raised her brows and revealed a complacent smile. "I've seen through your thoughts, so you have nothing to say." "You can put it that way." Dmo Xian wasn't in a hurry to refute. His hand gently covered hers. The bewitching blood merged with the profound phoenix ring. He chuckled softly, his eyes filled with gentleness. "From the first time I saw you, I had an inexplicable urge to get close to you. Perhaps, in the beginning, I thought that it was only because of the special nature of your body that I was interested in you. But the truth is, from the first time I met your eyes, my heart had already fallen on you." His sweet nothings, word by word, fell into Yi Qing Luo's ears. The pink bubbles in the room were about to expand. Did he admit that he had fallen in love with her at first sight? Was he confessing to her? Yi Qing Luo's eyes were filled with warmth and happiness. "I'll take your heart. I'll take in your men as well." She planted a gentle kiss on his thin lips. "So, you will belong to me for the rest of your life. No one would be able to snatch her man from her hands. Even if Dmo Xian wanted to leave, she would never let him leave. He was just that domineering. Just that asterisk, asterisk, asterisk." Dmo Xian's long and narrow peach blossom eyes were filled with tenderness and happiness. He held Yi Qing Luo's hand. The profound phoenix ring on his fingertip had returned to its original luster. He held her hand and placed it on his lips, imprinting it on the profound phoenix ring. Chapter 1384. A token of love from the god realm of the upper realm? Yi Qing Luo knew that this pair of rings had an extraordinary origin, but unexpectedly it was actually something from the divine realm. No wonder. However, it was a Jizuan realm ring. Not only was it able to store all living things, it was also able to store spiritual energy. It is said that the man and woman who possess this pair of rings are able to understand each other and grow old together. Dmo Xian's eyes revealed a trace of emotion that Yi Qing Luo couldn't understand. Not knowing why, Yi Qing Luo felt that when Dmo Xian said the sentence, it faintly revealed some self-deprecation and bitterness. But in the blink of an eye, that feeling disappeared. He looked at her and curled his lips into a smile. The luster in his long and narrow peach blossom eyes was still as intoxicating as ever. That drop of blood just now activated our telepathy. Was it an illusion? The bitterness that Dmo Xian had conveyed earlier, was it just her misperception? No, didn't they say that their minds were connected? That feeling earlier should be Dmo Xian's feeling. Why did he have such emotions when he mentioned the Netherworld Phoenix Ring and the Netherworld Dragon Ring? Her hand caressed his cheek. Her slender and fair fingers caressed his slightly furrowed brows. Ah, Xian, no matter who this pair of rings belonged to, now it belongs to us as a token of love. Yi Qing Luo smiled lightly, her eyes curved. To be able to connect with us, Xian, it's really great. Since DMO Xian didn't want to say, she wouldn't force him to ask. For DMO Xian to reveal such emotions, it must have something to do with this pair of rings. She could tell. DMO Xian treasured this pair of rings very much. Otherwise, he wouldn't have worn this pair of rings all the time, never taking them off. The only thing she could do was to seal this pair of rings with the warm memories between them. From today onwards, if you wish to look for me, there's no need to ask off phone to contact me. As long as you wear the profound phoenix ring and call out my name in your heart, I will be able to hear it. DMO Xian held her hand tightly. His eyes sparkled with joy because of Yi Qing Luo's words. Then, when you call my name, will I be able to hear it? Yi Qing Luo's heart trembled as an uncontrollable smile surfaced on her face. Could she look for him at any time? In the past, she could only wait for DMO Xian to look for her. But she had no way of contacting DMO Xian. If he wanted to find DMO Xian, he would have to go through wind. Sure. DMO Xian seemed to have sensed the agitation in her heart as he gently sighed, as he guiltily pulled her into his embrace. I'm sorry. Other than you, I've never interacted with other women. I don't understand women's preferences and thoughts. I admit that my ability to read people is not weak, but I have overlooked your thoughts. He murmured beside her ear. Bei Yuan said that girls are the easiest to feel insecure. When I want to find you, I can find you anytime, but when you want to find me, you can only go through off phone if he left. Wouldn't Yi Qing Luo feel uneasy? Although he knew that Yi Qing Luo was a very strong young lady. But no matter how strong she was still a woman. If you miss me in the future, you can talk to me through the profound phoenix ring. A soft spot in Yi Qing Luo's heart seemed to have been struck by something. Her eyes were filled with gratitude. She rested her head on his chest and whispered, Ah, Xian, thank you. I should be the one thanking you. DMO Xian sealed her lips and whispered, We still have a lifetime. Let me slowly learn and understand her thoughts, so that you can be at ease with me. Yi Qing Luo's smile deepened as she nodded her head vigorously and hugged him tightly. That's right. There was still a long time to learn. Chapter 1385. The next day, Yi Qing Luo woke up from her sweet dreams. DMO Xian was no longer by her side. Faintly, she could smell an appetizing fragrance. She looked in the direction of the smell. She saw a table not too far away, laid with a sumptuous breakfast. Her stomach grumbled a few times. She got up. The soreness in her body had eased by a lot. At least she could stand up now. The feeling in her legs had also eased. Stretching her waist, Yi Qing Luo walked to the table. She then discovered that there was a piece of paper under the porridge bowl. Yi Qing Luo's eyes shone slightly as she swiftly opened the paper. Indeed, it was written by DMO Xian. It was to explain why he left early in the morning. This breakfast was prepared by him personally, and he had already rushed back to the imperial palace to settle the matters there, returning in such a hurry. Did something happen at the imperial palace? Yi Qing Luo carefully folded that piece of paper as though it was a treasure and kept it into the profound phoenix ring. She had heard a little about it. The confrontation between the imperial palace and the dark forces was still ongoing. Under such an urgent situation, DMO Xian even came to the academy to look for her, just for the 7-day agreement that they had previously set. The timing was so precise. Did he know when her period would leave? Yi Qing Luo's cheeks flushed red. Her little hands cupped her face and patted it. Don't be love-struck. Quickly wake up. We must return to the devil class today. Yesterday, DMO Xian accompanied her for the entire day. Dmo Xian returned to the imperial palace to settle some matters. It was time for her to return to the devil class. Taking a deep breath, Yi Qing Luo used the fastest speed to wash up. After washing up, looking at the table full of delicacies, she sat down. As she drank the porridge and ate her breakfast, she imagined the scene of Dmo Xian personally making breakfast for her. After breakfast, Yi Qing Luo was in a good mood. Returning to the devil class, it was inevitable to be teased by Yan Xiao Yi and Tong Ziqing. Dmo Xian had specially asked Yan Xiao Yi to pass the message. To prevent these youngsters from worrying about Yi Qing Luo and running over to the dormitory to disturb them. Therefore, the students in the devil class all knew that Yi Qing Luo didn't come to the devil class yesterday because she was with Dmo Xian. Facing the duo's teasing, Yi Qing Luo's expression didn't change. She would be shy in front of Dmo Xian. That was because the target was Dmo Xian. Yi Qing Luo walked directly towards Long Yunjian and was just about to ask him about the students' training situation yesterday. But before he got close to Long Yunjian, he was the first to turn around and walk towards the class committee room. Yi Qing Luo's footsteps halted as she looked at Yan Xiao Yi in a daze. "What's wrong with Ajan?" Yan Xiao Yi shook her head and sighed. "Don't bother about him. It's time. We have to start training." Should she say that Yi Qing Luo was intelligent or slow? He could clearly see her feelings for Qiao Jin. However, she couldn't see Long Yunjian's feelings for her. Long Yunjian liked Yi Qing Luo, and Yi Qing Luo had been fooling around with Dmo Xian for the entire day yesterday. Long Yunjian's heart was broken. At this moment, he even forced Long Yunjian to pretend that nothing had happened and talk to him with his usual attitude. That was too cruel. It was better to leave Long Yunjian alone for a while. Yi Qing Luo took a look at the direction where Long Yunjian left, but eventually retracted her gaze. Their time was running out. They must grab hold of the time to train. The opponent's power was too strong, and if they were to lag behind by even a little bit, there was a possibility that they would become the dark force's food. All right, students, there's still 8 more days before the Academy's exchange meet. In these 8 days, we must train even harder. Yi Qing Luo clapped her hands. Those youngsters who wanted to tease her, but seemed to be afraid of something, and in the end could only stifle their laughter. Dared to tease her? Hee hee. Chapter 1386. 5 days later, the director announced to the entire academy that they were ready to set off for South Continent. As the number of students in Devil class was too little, the director chose several tens of students from other classes. The so-called Academy Exchange Meet. It wasn't just the director discussing the Academy's matters. There was also the competition between the students. Every year at this time, every academy would bring their most powerful class and students along. No academy was willing to embarrass themselves in front of other academies. Therefore, to be able to bring the students out of South Continent, although it was an honor, but the pressure was also huge. Once they brought shame to the academy, their future would be completely ruined. Therefore, all the students had to put in their best effort. As compared to the interclass competition, they had to work even harder. According to the new class distribution, High Profound Class 1, 20 students were selected. Intermediate Profound Class 2, 50 students. Low Profound Class 2, 10 students. Finally, from the Class of Gods, Zi Qianqian and Wei Beilai were called to lead the team. The director confirmed several times before he was assured. This time, there were a total of 142 students who followed the director to take part in the Academy Exchange Meet. Towards the director's actions, Yi Qing Luo and the rest had no objections, only silently making preparations to head to South Continent. The main thing was that Yi Qing Luo didn't have the leisure to care if the director brought the students from other classes along. Recently, the confrontation between the Imperial Palace and the Dark Forces had been placed out in the open. During this period, many of the so-called righteous people were gathering their men. saying that they wanted to have a life and death battle with the dark forces. But unfortunately, no group of people really charged forward. It was the Imperial Palace who found the nest of the dark forces at this critical juncture. They even led a group of Imperial Palace disciples to trample one of the dark forces' nest. It was rumored that it was a well-known figure in the dark forces, the nest of a certain force known as the Holy Technique. After being stirred up by the Imperial Palace, the entire dark forces were in chaos. Gradually, the dark forces started to show signs of collapse. Those righteous people saw that the dark forces had a breakthrough point and immediately led their men to rush up to help the Imperial Palace to have a life and death battle with the dark forces. This matter had spread like wildfire in the Nirvana realm. Because of her relationship with Dmo Xian, Yi Qingluo had been asking Peach to help her find out news about the Imperial Palace. Although in this Nirvana realm, Dmo Xian could be said to be a person who could summon clouds and rain with a flip of his hand. But she was still worried about Dmo Xian. She did not want to hear any news about the Imperial Palace or Dmo Xian. With such worries, Yi Qingluo stepped on the path towards the southern continent. This time, the Heavenly Academy's momentum was not considered huge. During the interclass competition, the students had colluded with the dark forces and caused quite a lot of trouble. As a result, the reputation of the outside world towards the Heavenly Academy was getting worse and worse. If the Heavenly Academy was to advertise for the Heavenly Academy like in previous years, it would only make the outside world laugh at the Heavenly Academy. Therefore, in the Heavenly Academy's team, in other words, there were the dean, 5 elders, 5 teachers, and 50 guards to do odd jobs. Finally, there were 140 students. Some of these students had followed the dean to attend a few academy exchanges. There were also many who were visiting the South Wave continent for the first time. Chapter 1387. There were also some students who were looking around, pointing at the things around them and asking all sorts of questions. There were some students who understood, or students who wanted to show off their presence, acting high and mighty as they answered the questions raised by other students. Along the way, it was extremely lively. As for Devil Class, the youngsters had gone on a few missions due to the establishment of the World Group. Towards this kind of itinerary, there was no longer any novelty. Some were secretly discussing the new training methods. Some were training their physical fitness while walking. Some of them even added gravity belts to their arms and legs. Although the distance between West Continent and South Continent was not far, but based on the student's journey, it would take at least 5 days. As for the reason why it was journey, this was also the reason why the academy set off 7 days earlier. Because this time, the dean did not only bring along students from other classes. He even brought along the 2 freshman instructors, Instructor Ho and Instructor Chu. The 2 instructors immediately requested that they not forget to train the students on the way there. Initially, the dean did not agree as he felt that it was a waste of time. After all, the dean could not delay the exchange just to wait for him, a Heavenly Academy. But the moment the instructor mentioned about the interclass competition, the Devil Class's students walking the students of the other classes like walking dogs, until those students were exhausted, and in the end, laid on the ground without any strength to resist. The dean was silent. In the end, he agreed to set off earlier and changed from riding a horse to walking. Therefore, this time in the team, other than the dean and a few elders, everyone else walked. After walking for about an entire morning, those students who were initially excited, in the end their legs could not take it anymore. One by one, they walked slower and slower. Some even fell directly onto the ground, not willing to move. The dean reined in his horse and frowned as he looked at the group of dispirited students behind him. He felt that the 2 instructors' suggestion was right. These students' physical strength was really too weak, even if their profound grades were higher. But their own quality and strength were too far apart from the profound grades. No wonder his lord liked to eat the souls of wild, profound cultivators and not the high-quality souls reared by the academy. Of course, It could not be said that these students had never gone through physical training. It could only be said that these students were too focused on raising their profound grades and neglected their own physical strength. He didn't think about whether his physical strength could carry the profound rank they had. Why are all of you paralyzed? Time to get up. Instructor Ho chided coldly. Look at yourselves now. Do you look like the students of the Heavenly Academy? If passers-by were to see the Heavenly Academy's students behaving like this, what would they think of you? I'm laughing at you guys for being tortured by the students of Devil class in the interclass competition. Or am I laughing at you bunch of trash, unworthy of the Heavenly Academy? Instructor Ho's words were merciless. His words pierced the eyes of the students who were paralyzed on the ground, causing their eyes to turn red. Useless. This was an insult to a profound practitioner. No one wanted to be called trash. Do you know why you guys can't be compared to the Devil class? Instructor Chu said in a mocking tone.